Arizona, 1879, the desert does not forgive, nor does it forget. The morning sun broke over the barren landscape, casting long shadows across the sand. It was a peculiar structure that first caught Logan Hayes' attention. Two wooden posts rising like skeletal fingers from the earth, connected by a horizontal beam. A human figure hung suspended from it, body limp against the harsh morning light. Logan adjusted his hat against the glare and steadied his horse. From his hidden vantage point behind a cluster of rocks, he watched the scene unfold with the practiced stillness of a man accustomed to witnessing death without intervention. 6 Apache warriors sat in a semicircle before the structure. Their leader, a tall man with intricate paint marking his weathered face, spoke in a deep, resonant voice that carried across the silent desert. "The sun will judge your spirit, Thomas Miller. If you are innocent of stealing our sacred gold, you will live to see tomorrow's sunrise." The man suspended from the wooden frame, the sun rack as Logan had heard it called, made no response. His swollen face was already turning the color of burnt clay in the merciless sun. He wouldn't last until noon. Logan's fingers twitched toward his rifle, but he remained hidden. One man against 6 warriors in open terrain was poor odds, even for a former Union soldier. Besides, this wasn't his fight, not his people, not his problem. He was about to retreat when movement caught his eye. The warriors were leading a woman forward, young, with copper skin and long black hair. Even from a distance, Logan could see the defiance in her posture despite the rope binding her wrists. "You will witness what happens to those who betray the tribe, half-blood," the leader said, switching to accented English. "Tomorrow you will hang in Miller's place." Logan frowned. The woman was clearly part Apache, part white, a half-blood, caught between two worlds and likely belonging to neither. As the warriors mounted their horses, the woman turned her face toward the dying man on the sun rack. The gesture contained such raw compassion that Logan felt something stir within his chest, a sensation he'd thought long buried beneath years of bloodshed and regret. The Apache party rode away, taking the woman with them, leaving their victim to die alone under the watching eye of the sun. Logan waited until they were specks on the horizon before emerging from his hiding place. He approached the sun rack cautiously, surveying the surroundings for any signs of guards left behind. The man, Miller, was beyond saving. His lips were cracked and bleeding, his breathing shallow. "Water," Logan offered, holding his canteen to the man's mouth. Miller's eyes fluttered open. "Too late," he rasped. "But she... save her. They'll kill her, because she knows." "Knows what?" Logan asked. "The gold. Not sacred. They're stealing. From the mines." Miller's voice was fading. "Thunderhawk and the white man with the raven tattoo." A chill ran down Logan's spine. A white man with a raven tattoo. The description was too specific to be coincidence. "This white man," Logan pressed. "His name. Is it Blackwood? Isaiah Blackwood?" Miller's eyes widened slightly in recognition before the last breath left his body. Logan stood motionless beside the sun rack, the dead man's words echoing in his mind. Isaiah Blackwood. The name haunted Logan's nightmares. The commanding officer who had ordered the raid on an Apache village a year ago. The raid where Logan had accidentally shot a child during the chaos. The sun climbed higher. Logan dug the grave with his hands until they bled, arranging stones in a careful pattern atop the mound. Not the white man's cross, but a circular Apache burial symbol he'd learned during his time at the frontier. His fingers traced the pattern with unexpected reverence. "Rest easy," he murmured, though he wasn't a praying man. Then he opened his saddlebag and placed beside the grave something he rarely shared, a small wooden carving of a horse whittled during lonely nights, the kind he once made for Apache children before the raid changed everything. As he mounted his horse, Logan's gaze drifted in the direction the Apache party had taken. The woman would face the same fate tomorrow. His hands tightened on the reins, knuckles white. Blackwood. The name itself was enough. The cavalry officer whose orders had cost Logan his peace, his career, and an Apache boy his life. The man whose shadow Logan had been trying to outrun across the desert for a year. With a decisive click of his tongue, Logan had turned his horse and began tracking the Apache party. With a click of his tongue, Logan turned his horse and began tracking the Apache party. The Apache camp was well positioned, nestled against rocky hills with clear sight lines across the surrounding desert. Logan observed it from a ridge as the day waned, counting 20 teepees and approximately 40 warriors. Too many to confront directly. He would wait for nightfall. The hours passed with agonizing slowness. Logan used the time to clean his Remington rifle and check his Colt revolver. If things went wrong, he'd need every bullet. As darkness fell and the camp grew quiet, Logan made his move. He approached from downwind, leaving his horse tethered at a safe distance. Years of tracking bounties had taught him to move like a shadow. The woman was kept in a small teepee at the edge of the camp, guarded by a single warrior. Logan circled behind the structure, listening to the guard's breathing pattern. When the man turned to light his pipe, Logan struck, one swift blow to the base of the skull with his revolver's handle. The guard crumpled, without a sound. Inside the teepee, the woman's eyes widened as Logan entered. She was bound to a center post, a gag across her mouth. When he removed it, she didn't scream as expected. "You're making a mistake," she whispered instead, her English perfect and unaccented. "They will hunt us both." "Probably," Logan agreed, cutting her bonds with his hunting knife. "Can you ride?" She rubbed her wrists, studying him with intelligent eyes. "Yes, but why are you doing this?" "Questions later," he muttered. "Now we move." They slipped from the teepee, keeping low. The woman followed Logan's lead with surprising skill, making minimal noise despite her obvious exhaustion. They had almost reached the perimeter when a sentry's call shattered the night's silence. "Run," Logan ordered, drawing his revolver. They sprinted for the ridge where his horse waited. Behind them, the camp erupted into activity, shouts and the flaring of torches. Logan fired twice into the air, hoping to create confusion rather than casualties. His horse, a sturdy bay gelding, snorted nervously as they approached. Logan helped the woman mount, then swung up behind her. With a sharp kick, they were off, galloping into the darkness as the first mounted pursuers emerged from the camp. The woman clung to the saddle horn, her body rigid with tension. Logan steered them into a narrow canyon, hoping to lose their pursuers in the labyrinthine landscape. "They know these lands better than you," she said over her shoulder, voice strained from the jolting pace. "Maybe," Logan conceded, "but they can't track us in the dark." They rode hard for nearly an hour, changing direction frequently, crossing rocky ground that would leave minimal tracks. Only when Logan was reasonably certain they weren't being followed did he slow their pace, mindful of his horse's labored breathing. "There's an old herder's cabin up ahead," he said. "We can rest there until morning." The woman didn't respond, but Logan could feel her trembling slightly against him. Whether from cold, fear, or exhaustion, he couldn't tell. The cabin was little more than a shack, abandoned years ago when the drought had driven the cattle herders eastward. Its roof sagged and one wall leaned precariously, but it would provide shelter for the night. Logan tended to his horse first, unsaddling and rubbing it down before securing it inside a small lean-to attached to the cabin. Only then did he guide the woman inside, lighting a small fire in the stone hearth with practiced efficiency. In the flickering light, he got his first clear look at her. She was younger than he'd initially thought, mid-20s perhaps, with features that betrayed her mixed heritage. Her skin was lighter than a full-blooded Apache's, her nose narrower, but her high cheekbones and dark eyes spoke of her native ancestry. A livid rope burn circled her neck, evidence of previous captivity on the sun rack. "You need water," Logan said, offering his canteen. She drank deeply, then wiped her mouth with the back of her hand. "Thank you," she said, her voice steadier now. "My name is Maya Wind." Logan Hayes. He busied himself checking the cabin's perimeter, barring the rickety door. "Why were they going to hang you on that thing?" "The sun rack," Maya said, touching the wound on her neck. "It's meant to be a sacred judgment. In the old ways, only the most serious crimes were punished by facing the sun's scrutiny." A bitter smile crossed her lips. "Now Thunderhawk uses it to eliminate anyone who threatens him." "And you threatened him by knowing about the gold." Her eyes narrowed. "How did you know that?" "The man who was on the rack when I arrived, Miller, he said something about stolen gold before he died." Maya's expression darkened. Thomas Miller was a decent man, a prospector who discovered Thunderhawk was stealing from the mining companies and blamed it on rogue Apache warriors. She pulled her knees to her chest, suddenly looking vulnerable despite her obvious strength. "I was interpreting for a trading party when I overheard Thunderhawk and his white partner planning their next raid." This white partner, Logan said carefully. Did he have a raven tattooed on his neck? Maya's head snapped up. You know him? Logan didn't answer immediately. Instead, he removed his coat, revealing a ragged scar that ran from his shoulder down his right arm. I was a soldier, he said finally, reaching into his shirt to pull out a worn leather pouch hanging around his neck. He opened it and removed a small, smooth stone painted with Apache symbols. This belonged to a boy at Fort Bowie. He would trade stones for hardtack. Logan placed the stone between them. A year ago, Blackwood ordered a night raid on a village, said they were harboring raiders and weapons. The firelight cast shifting shadows across his face as his fingers traced the stone's edge. In the chaos, smoke, gunfire, a small figure ran toward me. I fired. His hand closed around the stone. A boy, maybe 10. He had a stick, not a rifle. Maya's expression remained impassive, but her eyes reflected the firelight like twin flames. Logan placed the painted stone carefully by the fire's edge. After, I collected this from our camp. Been carrying it ever since. He looked up at her. Our commander was Isaiah Blackwood, man with a raven tattoo on his neck. So you saved me to ease your conscience, Maya said, her voice cool. No, Logan replied honestly. I saved you because it was the right thing to do. And because if Blackwood is involved in whatever's happening here, I want to know. Maya studied him for a long moment, then reached out unexpectedly to touch the scar on his arm. All of us carry wounds that don't heal, she said softly, some visible, some hidden. The intimacy of the gesture caught Logan off guard. He moved away, checking the small windows, listening for sounds of pursuit. Get some rest, he said. We'll need to move at first light. Maya arranged herself in a corner, using Logan's coat as a blanket. They will come with bombs, she warned. Blackwood knows these mountains as well as any Apache. He's been living among the tribe for months. Why would Thunderhawk trust a white man? Logan asked. Gold, Maya replied simply. Blackwood convinced him that together they could drive both miners and the cavalry away from Apache land. What Thunderhawk doesn't realize is that Blackwood is manipulating him, using the tribe to do his dirty work. Logan nodded, pieces falling into place. It was an effective strategy. Blame the Apache for the mine raids, stir up anti-Indian sentiment, possibly even provoke a military response that would drive the tribe from valuable mining territory. Sleep, he repeated. I'll keep watch. As Maya drifted into exhausted slumber, Logan settled by the window, rifle across his knees. The night was quiet, save for the occasional cry of a distant coyote. His thoughts turned to the dead Apache boy. In his nightmares, the child's eyes followed him accusingly. No amount of whiskey had drowned that memory. After deserting his post, Logan had spent months tracking violent men across the territory for bounty money, as if each criminal brought to justice might balance the scale of his own guilt. Now fate had thrown him into another Apache conflict, with the man responsible for it all within reach. Logan wasn't sure if he was seeking redemption or revenge. Perhaps there was little difference. Dawn broke with cruel brightness across the desert. Logan, who had dozed fitfully through the final hours of night, woke Maya with a gentle shake. Time to go, he said, offering her a strip of dried beef from his provisions. She accepted it wordlessly, her movements stiff from the hard floor. Outside, Logan checked his horse and scanned the horizon. No sign of pursuit yet, but he knew it was coming. Where will we go? Maya asked, emerging from the cabin. Copper Ridge, Logan decided, mining town about 20 miles west. I know someone there who might help us. Maya frowned. A mining town is dangerous for an Apache. You're only half Apache, Logan pointed out. To most white men, that's half too much, she retorted. Before Logan could respond, a sound froze them both, the distant baying of hounds. They're coming, Maya whispered, fear flickering across her face. They mounted swiftly, Logan urging his horse to a gallop the moment they were secure. The terrain here was rocky and uneven, forcing them to weave between boulders and dry washes. The dogs will lose our scent on the stones, Logan called over his shoulder. Maya's arms tightened around his waist. Blackwood will expect that. He'll cut across to the river path. Logan adjusted their course accordingly, pushing deeper into the rocky highlands rather than descending toward the distant ribbon of green that marked the seasonal river. They rode hard for an hour, the horse beginning to foam at the mouth despite Logan's careful rationing of its strength. When they crested a high ridge, he reined in, allowing the animal to rest while he surveyed their back trail with his field glass. 3 riders, he reported, focusing on the distant figures. 2 Apache, 1 white man. Maya slid from the horse to stand beside him. Blackwood? Can't tell, they're too far. He would come himself, Maya said with certainty. He enjoys the hunt. Logan collapsed the field glass, calculating. There's an old mining tunnel about 2 miles ahead. We can shelter there, maybe set up an ambush. The abandoned tunnel was half hidden behind scrub brush, its timbers gray with age. Logan led his exhausted horse inside, where the temperature was noticeably cooler. Water seeped from the rock walls, creating small pools that the animal gratefully drank from. Stay with him, Logan instructed, handing Maya his canteen. I'm going to find a position outside. Maya caught his arm. They'll expect an ambush. Maybe, but we're out of options unless you want to keep running until this horse drops dead. He selected a spot among the tumbled rocks near the tunnel entrance, positioning himself where he'd have a clear shot at the approaching trail without being easily visible. Time stretched endlessly. The sun climbed toward its zenith, baking the land into shimmering heat waves that distorted vision. Logan remained motionless, a skill honed from years of bounty hunting. The riders appeared as heat mirages at first, wavering shapes against the bleached landscape. As they drew nearer, Logan could make out details. 2 Apache scouts leading, followed by a white man on a black horse. Through his rifle's scope, Logan confirmed what Maya had predicted. The white rider was Isaiah Blackwood, older than Logan remembered, his face more deeply lined, but unmistakable with his close-cropped dark hair and the distinctive raven tattoo curling up from his collar. Logan's finger tensed on the trigger. One shot would end it. Justice for the Apache boy, for Thomas Miller, for countless others who had suffered because of Blackwood's schemes, but execution wasn't justice, and Logan needed answers more than he needed revenge. He waited until the riders were within 30 yards, then fired, a warning shot that kicked up dust near the lead horse. The animal reared in panic, throwing its rider. "That's close enough," Logan called. The second Apache warrior raised a rifle, but Blackwood signaled him to hold fire. "We're looking for a stolen horse and a kidnapped woman," Blackwood shouted back, his voice exactly as Logan remembered, smooth as whiskey, but with a metallic undertone. "Tribal business. Ride away, stranger, and you won't be harmed. And the woman came willingly," Logan replied, remaining hidden. "And I don't recognize your authority here, Blackwood." A pause, then, "You know my name." "I know more than that. I know about the gold you're stealing from the mines, about how you're using the sun rack to silence witnesses." The fallen scout had regained his feet and was trying to circle behind Logan's position. Logan fired again, closer this time, forcing the man to retreat. "Next one won't miss," he warned. Blackwood gestured for his men to stay put. His posture remained relaxed, but Logan knew the man was assessing, calculating. "You have me at a disadvantage," Blackwood called. "You know my name, but I don't know yours." "You've forgotten a lot of men," Logan replied. "Men who served under you. Men who followed your orders and have to live with the consequences." Understanding dawned in Blackwood's eyes. "You were at the raid last year." A smile spread across his face, a predator recognizing potential prey. "One of my soldiers, the deserter. I left because I couldn't stomach murdering innocent people for your profit." Blackwood laughed, the sound echoing harshly off the rocks. "Noble sentiments from a man hiding in the dirt with a rifle. What do you want, deserter? Money? The woman? Name your price." "I want justice," Logan said simply. "Justice," Blackwood repeated as if tasting a foreign word. "For a half-breed interpreter and a dead prospector? You're throwing your life away, soldier." "My life, my choice." Blackwood's pleasant expression hardened. "Last chance to walk away." In answer, Logan fired a third shot, deliberately clipping the brim of Blackwood's hat. Chaos erupted. The Apache warriors scrambled for cover, returning fire wildly. Blackwood wheeled his horse and galloped back down the trail, leaving his men to provide covering fire. Logan kept his head down as bullets whined off the rocks around him. He'd expected Blackwood to retreat. The man had always valued his own skin above all else. When the firing paused, Logan risked a glance. The two warriors were withdrawing, following their leader. One was limping, apparently wounded. Logan remained in position until they disappeared from sight, then made his way back to the tunnel entrance. Inside, he found Maya pressed against the far wall, Logan's revolver clutched in her shaking hands. She lowered it when she recognized him. "I heard shooting," she said. "Blackwood and two warriors," Logan confirmed. "They've retreated for now, but they'll be back with more men." Maya handed him back the revolver. "You know him, Blackwood, not just from the raid you told me about." Logan checked his rifle, avoiding her eyes. "He was my commanding officer." "There's more," Maya pressed. "I saw it in your eyes when you said his name." Logan sighed, holstering the revolver. "Blackwood led the raid where I shot the boy. But it was all wrong from the start. The intelligence was vague, the orders rushed. Some of us questioned it, but—" He trailed off, remembering the night in fragmented flashes. The shouting, the gunfire, the smell of burning hides. After, when we found no weapons cache, no stolen goods, just dead women and children, I confronted him. He laughed. Said sometimes you had to clear the vermin to get to the gold. Logan's voice hardened. That's when I knew. The raid wasn't about Apache raiders. It was about clearing the tribe from land with mining potential. Maya's expression remained unreadable, but something flickered in her eyes. "And you deserted." "I couldn't serve under him, couldn't be part of what he was doing." Logan checked the tunnel entrance. "We need to move. Nightfall would be best, but we can't wait. They'll surround this place by then." Maya rose, dusting herself off with a deliberate calmness that seemed at odds with their situation. "Before we go, you should know something," she said. "The village you raided, the boy you shot." She met his eyes directly. "That was my cousin's village. My mother's people." Logan felt as if he'd been punched in the stomach. "Maya, Save it," she cut him off. "If not for what happened after, you deserting, questioning orders, I would kill you where you stand." Her voice was steady, her eyes like obsidian. "But we have a common enemy now, and my mother taught me that vengeance is a luxury for those who have already won their wars." She moved past him toward the horse. "Let's go to your Copper Ridge. Let's find your friend. And then let's destroy Isaiah Blackwood and everything he's built." Logan watched her mount with fluid grace, her back straight, her profile sharp against the dim light of the tunnel. Here was a woman carrying her own wounds, her own ghosts. Yet she moved forward with a purpose that made his own quest for redemption seem pale and selfish. He mounted behind her, feeling the rigid tension in her body where it pressed against his. No words would bridge the gulf between them. Not now, perhaps not ever. But they had a common cause. For now, that would have to be enough. They emerged from the tunnel into the relentless afternoon sun. Logan guided them along a circuitous route, avoiding open ground, keeping to the shadows of rock formations where possible. "Blackwood will expect us to head west toward Copper Ridge," he reasoned, "so we'll circle north first, then approach from an unexpected direction." Maya nodded, saying nothing. She had retreated into silence since her revelation, answering Logan's necessary questions with single words or gestures. They rode steadily through the afternoon and into the evening, stopping only when necessary to rest the horse. As night fell, the desert's brutal heat gave way to a bone-deep chill. Logan offered Maya his coat again, which she accepted without comment. Shortly after midnight, the lights of Copper Ridge appeared in the distance, a scattered constellation of yellow pinpricks against the velvet darkness. "We'll approach from the east," Logan decided. "Less traffic that way." Copper Ridge had sprung up 5 years earlier when a significant copper deposit was discovered in the nearby hills. Like most mining towns, it had grown haphazardly, a jumble of wooden structures, canvas tents, and the occasional brick building. At this late hour, most windows were dark, though light and raucous piano music still spilled from the saloons. Logan guided them down a side street, avoiding the main thoroughfare with its late-night drunks and vigilant eyes. They dismounted outside a modest building with a weathered sign, "Sheriff's Office." "Your friend is the law?" Maya asked, speaking for the first time in hours. "Carter Wilson," Logan confirmed, "former cavalry captain." "Good man." A light burned inside the office. Logan rapped softly on the door, hand resting on his revolver out of habit. The door opened to reveal a man in his early 50s, silver streaking his dark hair and mustache. His eyes, a penetrating blue beneath heavy brows, widened in recognition. "Hayes," he said incredulously, "I heard you turned bounty hunter after Antietam." "Hello, Captain," Logan replied, using the old military rank. "We need your help." Wilson's gaze shifted to Maya, taking in her mixed heritage, the healing rope burn on her neck, her wary posture. "Come in," he said, stepping aside. "Quickly." Inside, the office was spare but orderly. A desk stacked with wanted posters and paperwork, 3 cells along the back wall, currently empty, and a small stove in the corner providing warmth. Wilson bolted the door behind them. "Sit," he offered, gesturing to chairs. "You both look dead on your feet." Logan sank gratefully into a chair, realizing how exhausted he truly was. Maya remained standing, her back to the wall, watching both men with guarded eyes. "This is Maya Wynn," Logan introduced. "Maya, this is Sheriff Carter Wilson." Wilson nodded to her. "Ma'am, you're safe here." Maya's expression suggested she reserved judgment on that claim. "Carter," Logan began, "what do you know about mining raids in the territory, specifically ones blamed on Apache warriors?" Wilson's eyes narrowed. He moved to a cabinet, withdrew a bottle of whiskey and 3 tin cups. "Enough to know the official story stinks worse than week-old fish," he replied, pouring generous measures. 3 mining camps hit in the last month. Gold taken, men killed. Army says it's Apache raiders. He offered cups to Logan and Maya. Logan accepted. Maya didn't. "But you don't believe it?" Logan prompted. Wilson took a long swallow before answering. "The Apache around here have been peaceful for 2 years. Then suddenly they're conducting military-style raids on heavily armed camps, taking only gold, leaving food and supplies untouched." He shook his head. "No, something else is happening." "Isaiah Blackwood," Maya said. Wilson's head snapped up. "Blackwood? The cavalry officer?" "Former cavalry," Logan clarified. "He's working with an Apache chief named Thunderhawk. They steal the gold, blame it on rogue warriors, and eliminate witnesses using a tribal execution method called the sun rack." Wilson cursed softly. "That explains the bodies we've found. Exposure deaths, always with rope marks." He studied Maya more carefully. "You escaped this sun rack?" "Logan rescued me," she said, the admission seeming to cost her. "I was an interpreter. I overheard their plans." Wilson set down his cup. "This is a serious accusation against a former Army officer. I'll need more than your word." "We can get proof," Logan assured him. "Records at the mining company office would show the pattern of attacks. And there must be witnesses, other Apache, who know what Thunderhawk and Blackwood are doing." "Dangerous game," Wilson warned. "Blackwood has friends in high places, and the townsfolk here aren't exactly friendly to Apache accusations." "I'm not asking you to risk your badge," Logan said. "Just give us a place to rest tonight, maybe some supplies. We'll move on tomorrow." Wilson studied his former subordinate for a long moment. "Still trying to atone, Hayes?" Logan didn't answer. "Stay," Wilson decided. "There's a cot in the back room and a washroom with hot water. I'll keep watch out here." Logan nodded gratefully. "Thank you, Carter." As Wilson led them to the small back room, Maya finally spoke again. "Why are you helping us, Sheriff? You don't know me. And Logan is a deserter." Wilson paused, hand on the door. "I know enough. I know Hayes is a man who couldn't follow orders that violated his conscience. That's rare." He glanced at the scar visible beneath Logan's collar. "And I know what a sunrack victim looks like. No one deserves that death. Not even a criminal. Certainly not a witness." His gaze hardened. "Most of all, I know men like Blackwood. Men who use their position and the flag to cover crimes that would hang a common man. If he's stirring up trouble between settlers and Apache for profit, I want him stopped before we have a war on our hands." Maya held his gaze, then nodded once, apparently satisfied. "Rest," Wilson said more gently. "We'll talk strategy in the morning." Left alone in the small room, Logan and Maya regarded each other awkwardly. There was a single cot, barely wide enough for one person. "Take it," Logan said, gesturing to the cot. "I'll sleep on the floor." Maya sank onto the thin mattress, exhaustion evident in the slump of her shoulders. "Why did you really save me, Logan Hayes?" she asked suddenly. Truth this time. Logan leaned against the wall, too tired to maintain pretenses. When I saw you at the sun rack, I saw a chance to do something right. To save someone instead of... He trailed off, unable to finish. Instead of killing, Maya completed. Her voice held no accusation now, only a deep weariness. My mother used to say that the greatest warriors aren't those who take the most lives, but those who save them. Your mother sounds wise. She was. A shadow passed over Maya's face. Blackwood killed her 3 months ago. Not directly, he's too careful for that. But his actions, his lies to Thunderhawk about her being a spy for the white miners. Her voice hardened. She wasn't given the Sunrack's judgment, just a knife across her throat. Logan didn't offer empty condolences. Instead, he said, "Then we have another reason to stop him." Maya looked up, her dark eyes meeting his. "When this is over, when Blackwood faces justice, what will happen between us? Will your debt be paid?" The question caught Logan off guard. "I don't know," he admitted. "I don't think I can ever truly pay for what I did." "No," Maya agreed softly, "you can't, but perhaps you can balance it with what you will do." She lay down, turning her back to him. "Good night, Logan Hayes." "Good night, Maya." As Maya's breathing deepened into sleep, Logan settled on the hard floor, using his saddlebags as a makeshift pillow. Despite his exhaustion, sleep eluded him. Outside, the sounds of the mining town gradually quieted. Somewhere, Blackwood was plotting their capture or death. Somewhere, an Apache boy's spirit watched and judged Logan's attempts at redemption. And here, in this small room, lay a woman whose life was now intertwined with his by blood, vengeance, and perhaps, though neither would yet admit it, something like respect. Logan closed his eyes, surrendering to a restless sleep filled with dreams of burning villages, children running through smoke, and a wooden frame silhouetted against the merciless desert sun. Dawn broke over Copper Ridge with the clatter of mining carts and the distant thud of dynamite. Logan woke instantly, hand reaching for his revolver before he remembered where he was. Across the small room, Maya was already awake, rebinding her long black hair with practiced movements. "Sheriff Wilson brought these," she said, nodding toward a bundle of clean clothes. "Said they belonged to his late wife." Logan stood, stretching muscles stiff from the hard floor. "You slept?" "Some." Maya's tone suggested the quantity had been minimal. "Your friend is preparing breakfast." The sheriff's office smelled of coffee and bacon when they emerged. Wilson stood at a small stove in the corner, expertly flipping strips of meat in a cast-iron skillet. "Morning, Ito," he greeted them. "Figured you could use a proper meal before we start planning." They ate in silence, thick slices of sourdough bread, crisp bacon, and strong black coffee. Logan hadn't realized how hungry he was until the food was before him. Maya ate with equal appetite, though more restraint. "I've been thinking," Wilson said as he collected their empty plates. "Breaking into the mining company office is risky. Too many guards, too many questions if you're caught." "We need those records," Logan pointed out. "True, but there's another approach." Wilson poured more coffee. "The company secretary, Jenkins, drinks at the Golden Nugget every evening. Man can't hold his liquor, and he loves to talk." Maya frowned. "You suggest we ply him with alcohol to obtain information?" "Information's just the start," Wilson replied. "What we need is an ally who can testify against Blackwood when the time comes." "Jenkins won't betray the company," Logan objected. Wilson's smile was knowing. "Jenkins has been skimming from the payroll for months. I've been building a case quietly, waiting for the right moment to use it." He turned to Maya. "As for finding Apache witnesses against Thunderhawk, that's where we need your help." Maya tensed slightly. The tribe won't speak against their chief, especially not to white authorities. "Not even those who have lost family to the sunrack?" Wilson pressed. A shadow crossed Maya's face. "There might be one who would help. Silver Cloud, an old medicine man who left the tribe when Thunderhawk gained power. My mother..." She hesitated. "My mother trusted him." Wilson nodded. "Good. We have a starting point for both sides of this conspiracy." He leaned forward, lowering his voice though they were alone in the office. "But you should know, Blackwood was here last night." Logan's hand instinctively moved toward his revolver. "In town?" "At the mining company office," Wilson confirmed. "Rode in after midnight with 2 Apache warriors. They left before dawn." He's warning them, Maya said, telling them we might come seeking evidence. Likely, Wilson agreed, but he doesn't know I'm involved yet. That gives us an advantage. He moved to his desk, unrolling a crude map of the surrounding territory. Silver Cloud first. Where would we find him? Maya studied the map, then pointed to a secluded valley northeast of town. Hawk's Nest, a sacred place to the old ones of the tribe. Silver Cloud went there to live in the traditional way when Thunderhawk began changing the tribe's customs. Wilson marked the spot with a pencil. 2 days' ride, rough country. He glanced up at Logan. Your horse needs rest after yesterday's hard run. Take my buckskin instead. Logan shook his head. You've risked enough already, Carter. This isn't charity, Hayes. If Blackwood and Thunderhawk are stirring up conflict for profit, it'll be my problem when the killing starts. Better to stop it now. The logic was sound. Logan nodded reluctantly. What about Jenkins? Maya asked. I'll handle him, Wilson said. Meet me at Miller's Creek in 4 days. If you're not there, I'll assume the worst and move on my own. Logan recognized the strategy, compartmentalizing the operation so that if one part failed, the other might still succeed. 4 days, he agreed. Wilson handed them saddlebags filled with provisions. One more thing, he said, reaching into his desk drawer. He withdrew a badge, not a sheriff's star, but the simpler shield of a deputy. Take this. If you're questioned, you're on official business. Logan accepted the badge with a wry smile. Deputizing a deserter, Carter? Deputizing a man I trust, Wilson corrected. Just try not to shoot anybody unless absolutely necessary. They left Copper Ridge by the North Road, drawing curious glances from early rising townspeople. Maya rode her own mount now, a sturdy pinto mare Wilson had procured from the livery stable. Once clear of town, they turned northeast, following game trails into increasingly rugged terrain. The landscape changed gradually from desert scrub to pine-dotted highlands. By midday, they were riding through forests of ponderosa pine, the air noticeably cooler and laden with resin scent. Maya rode slightly ahead, her posture suggesting she was more at home in this environment than in the sheriff's office. Logan watched her navigate the difficult terrain with natural ease, choosing paths he would have missed. You know these mountains well, he observed during a brief rest to water the horses. Maya nodded, scanning the horizon with practiced eyes. My mother brought me here as a child before she trailed off, then changed direction. Silver Cloud taught me which plants heal, which bring visions, which can kill. You were close to him? He was kind when others were not. Her tone discouraged further questions. They continued in silence, climbing steadily into the mountains. By late afternoon, storm clouds were gathering above the distant peaks, promising rain before nightfall. There's a hunter's cabin ahead, Maya said. We should shelter there tonight. The cabin was little more than a one-room structure of rough-hewn logs, but its roof was sound and a small stream gurgled nearby. Inside, they found a stone fireplace, a crude table with bench, and a sleeping platform covered with moldering pine boughs. While Logan tended to the horses, Maya gathered firewood and kindling. By the time he returned, she had a small fire crackling in the hearth. Thunder rumbled overhead as they shared a simple meal of jerky, dried fruit, and hardtack from Wilson's provisions. Rain began to patter on the roof, quickly intensifying to a steady downpour. Good timing, Logan commented, glancing up at the sound. Maya poked at the fire with a stick, her face illuminated by the dancing flames. The old ones say rain is the tears of ancestors who watch over us. A faint smile touched her lips. My mother said it was just water falling from clouds, but I liked the first explanation better. Logan studied her across the fire. It was the most personal thing she had shared since revealing her connection to the raided village. Tell me about your mother, he said carefully. Maya's expression close-slided. Why would you want to know about her? Because she raised a daughter strong enough to survive the sun rack. Because she lived between two worlds like you do. The fire crackled in the silence that followed. Outside, the rain intensified, drumming on the roof like impatient fingers. Her name was Catherine, Maya said finally. Catherine Wind. She was a teacher from Boston who came west to establish schools for Indian children. A genuine smile briefly illuminated her features. She was beautiful, stubborn, fearless. She met my father, Swifthawk, when she came to teach at our reservation. They fell in love despite everyone's disapproval. Logan listened, recognizing the rare gift of Maya's openness. When I was 7, the Indian agent discovered their marriage and had my father arrested. My mother fought for his release, even traveled to Washington to appeal to government officials. Maya's voice hardened. They threatened to take me away, place me in an orphanage. So we fled, my mother and I. Lived among the Apache, then in mining towns, then back with the tribe as tensions changed. That's how you became an interpreter, Logan realized. Maya nodded. My mother taught me that language is power, that words can build bridges where rifles only dig graves. She looked directly at him now. She believed peace was possible between your people and mine, even after everything she witnessed. A remarkable woman, Logan said sincerely. I'm sorry for your loss. As I said, Blackwood had her killed when she discovered the gold scheme. Maya's hand moved unconsciously to a small leather pouch hanging around her neck. 3 months ago, the night before she died, she gave me this and told me to guard it with my life. Said it contained truth that powerful men would kill for. Logan's interest sharpened. Have you looked inside? It's sealed with sinew and pine pitch. She made me promise not to open it until I found someone I could truly trust. Maya's dark eyes reflected the firelight. I haven't found that person yet. The implication was clear. Logan hadn't earned that level of trust. He couldn't blame her. Get some rest, he suggested, moving toward the door. I'll take first watch. In this storm? Maya raised an eyebrow. Even Blackwood's Apache scouts won't track us tonight. Still, better safe than sorry. Logan positioned himself near the single window, rifle across his knees. The rain continued its relentless percussion on the roof, occasionally punctuated by thunder. Through the murky glass, he could see little beyond the nearest trees, their shapes distorted by rivulets of water. Behind him, Maya arranged her bedroll on the sleeping platform. The fire settled into glowing embers, casting the cabin in a warm, dim light. Logan, Maya said softly. When he turned, she was sitting cross-legged on the platform, her expression pensive. What will you do if we succeed? If Blackwood faces justice? The question caught him off guard. I haven't thought that far ahead. You should. Vengeance can consume a life if you let it. I've seen it happen. Logan considered this. I suppose I'd return to bounty hunting. It's what I know. Is it what you want? The directness of her question made him uncomfortable. What did he want? For years, his only purpose had been escaping the memory of the Apache raid, then finding some way to atone for it. He hadn't allowed himself to consider a future beyond that. What about you? He deflected. After Blackwood? After Thunderhawk? Maya was silent for a long moment. I want to finish what my mother started, she said finally. Help build understanding between our peoples. But first, I need to reclaim my place among the tribe. Prove that being half white doesn't make me less Apache. That matters to you? Belonging to the tribe that cast you out? It's half of who I am, she replied simply. I can no more deny it than I can change the color of my eyes. Logan nodded, understanding better than he expected. Everyone needed roots, a sense of belonging. His had been severed when he deserted the cavalry, leaving him adrift in a land that was both home and foreign territory. Rest, he repeated. We have a long ride tomorrow. Maya lay down, pulling a blanket over herself. Wake me for second watch. You need sleep too. Logan agreed, though he had no intention of waking her. One of them needed to be fully alert tomorrow, and he was accustomed to functioning on minimal sleep. As the night deepened and the storm gradually moved eastward, Logan kept his vigil by the window. His thoughts drifted between the past and the uncertain future, punctuated by the occasional glance at Maya's sleeping form. Even in sleep, she maintained a certain wariness, one hand near the knife at her belt, her body positioned to rise quickly if needed. It spoke of a life lived in constant alertness, never fully safe. Perhaps, he reflected, they were more alike than either would readily admit. Morning brought clear skies and a forest transformed by the night's rain. Droplets glittered on pine needles, and the stream beside the cabin ran fuller and faster. Logan, who had dozed only fitfully during the night, roused himself as the first light filtered through the window. Maya was already awake, rekindling the fire with practiced efficiency. You didn't wake me for watch, she observed, not looking up from her task. You needed the rest more than I did. She didn't argue, but her expression suggested she disapproved of his unilateral decision. They shared a quick breakfast of the remaining jerky and hardtack, then set out as the sun cleared the eastern mountains. The terrain grew increasingly challenging as they climbed higher into the highlands. Twice they had to dismount and lead the horses up steep, rocky slopes. By midday, they had reached a high ridge overlooking a secluded valley. Hawk's Nest, Maya explained. From their vantage point, Logan could see a small stream winding through the valley floor and a thin plume of smoke rising from a crude stone chimney. Silver Cloud's dwelling, Maya confirmed, following his gaze. But we should approach carefully. He sets traps for unwanted visitors. They descended into the valley via a narrow deer trail, Maya leading the way with heightened alertness. Twice she stopped them, pointing out nearly invisible tripwires stretched across the path. The dwelling, when they finally reached it, was a surprise. Rather than a traditional teepee, Silver Cloud lived in a structure that combined Apache design with white settler construction. A circular foundation of stone, supporting walls of woven branches plastered with mud, topped by a conical roof of pine boughs and animal hides. "Wait here," Maya instructed, dismounting. "Let me approach first." Logan watched as she walked toward the dwelling, stopping a respectful distance away. She called out in Apache, her voice carrying clearly in the mountain air. For a long moment, there was no response. Then the hide covering the entrance was pushed aside, and an elderly man emerged. Even from a distance, Logan could see that Silver Cloud was ancient, his face deeply lined, his white hair hanging in two long braids. Yet he moved with surprising agility, his back straight, his gestures animated as he responded to Maya in rapid Apache. Their conversation continued for several minutes. At one point, Silver Cloud looked directly at Logan, his gaze so penetrating that Logan felt exposed despite the distance between them. Finally, Maya gestured for Logan to approach. "He will speak with us," she said as Logan dismounted, "but he has conditions." "What conditions?" "We must participate in a purification ceremony before discussing our purpose, and you must leave your weapons outside his dwelling." Logan hesitated, the soldier in him reluctant to be unarmed in unfamiliar territory. "It is his way," Maya added, a test of trust and intentions. With reluctance, Logan removed his gun belt and rifle, placing them beside the entrance. Maya did the same with her knife. Inside, the dwelling was surprisingly spacious and well-ordered. A fire burned in a central pit, the smoke rising through a hole in the roof. Hides and woven blankets covered the earthen floor, and bundles of dried herbs hung from the support poles. Silver Cloud sat cross-legged beside the fire, his weathered face impassive as they entered. Up close, Logan could see that the old man's eyes were a startling pale blue, unusual for an Apache, suggesting mixed ancestry somewhere in his lineage. Maya spoke in Apache, presumably introducing Logan. Silver Cloud listened, then responded in perfect, if heavily accented, English. "So the bluecoat seeks redemption for spilled blood." His voice was dry as old leather. "Many seek, few find." Logan wasn't sure how to respond. The old man seemed to know about him already. "Sir," he began awkwardly, "we've come because—" Silver Cloud raised a hand, cutting him off. "I know why you come. The sun rack, the gold, the chief who has forgotten the old ways." His pale eyes moved to Maya, "And the daughter of Catherine Wynne, seeking justice for her mother's spirit." Maya nodded, seemingly unsurprised by his knowledge. "First purification," Silver Cloud declared, "then talk." The purification ritual was unlike anything Logan had experienced. Silver Cloud burned a mixture of herbs over the fire, filling the dwelling with pungent smoke. He chanted in Apache, occasionally sprinkling water infused with more herbs over Logan and Maya. Throughout the ceremony, Logan felt increasingly lightheaded. The smoke, the rhythmic chanting, and his own exhaustion combined to create a dreamlike state. Images flickered through his mind: the Apache boy he had shot, the sun rack silhouetted against the sky, Maya's face illuminated by firelight. When it finally ended, Logan felt strangely refreshed despite the lingering dizziness. Silver Cloud offered them a bitter tea, which Maya accepted without hesitation. Logan followed her example, finding that the drink helped clear his head. "Now," Silver Cloud said, settling back, "we talk of Thunderhawk and the man with the raven mark." Maya explained their situation: her narrow escape from the sun rack, Logan's intervention, their alliance with Sheriff Wilson, and their plan to gather evidence against both Thunderhawk and Blackwood. Silvercloud listened without interruption, his expression giving nothing away. When Maya finished, he remained silent for a long moment, staring into the fire as if seeing visions in the flames. Thunderhawk was not always corrupt, he said finally. Once he was a strong leader, a protector of our people. Then came the drought, the hunger, the government-broken promises. His voice hardened. The man with the raven mark saw opportunity and desperation. He offered gold, guns, power. In return, Thunderhawk gave him our sacred places, places where the yellow metal sleeps beneath the earth. The mining raids are a distraction, Logan realized. Blackwood uses them to keep attention focused on Apache aggression while quietly claiming tribal land for mining. Silvercloud nodded. Many moons ago, Catherine Wynne discovered the truth. She came to me, seeking allies among the old ones of the tribe. But Thunderhawk learned of her plan. The Raven Man took her away. His eyes met Maya's. I could not save her, daughter of my friend. This shame I carry. Maya's face remained composed, but Logan saw her hands tighten into fists. There are others who oppose Thunderhawk, Silvercloud continued. Warriors who remember the old ways, who see how he has twisted our sacred rituals for power. But they fear the sunrack. They need a sign that Thunderhawk can be defeated. We need their testimony, Logan urged, proof that Thunderhawk is working with Blackwood against his own people. Silvercloud shook his head. Words mean nothing against power and fear. You need more than testimony. You need evidence that cannot be denied by either white law or tribal custom. What evidence? Maya asked. Silvercloud reached into a pouch at his waist and withdrew a small, smooth stone with markings etched into its surface. This is a map stone. It shows the way to Medicine Rock, a sacred place where your mother hid something of great value before her death. Maya's hand went to the leather pouch around her neck. She gave me this, said it contained truth. The key and the lock, Silvercloud agreed. Your mother was clever. She divided the evidence to protect it. The pouch contains the proof, contracts perhaps, or letters, but it is sealed with a special pine pitch that can only be dissolved by the oil of a rare flower that grows at Medicine Rock. Logan glanced between them, sensing the importance of this revelation. Where is this Medicine Rock? 2 days' journey north, a place sacred to both Apache and Navajo. Few whites know of it. Maya studied the mapstone, her expression thoughtful. We'll need a guide. I've never been there. Silvercloud's lips curved in a slight smile. I will guide you. These old bones still remember the path. He looked at Logan. But first, Blue Coat, you must face your spirit trial. Spirit trial? Logan repeated uneasily. To enter sacred ground, you must cleanse the shadow from your soul. The boy you killed, his spirit follows you. I have seen it hovering behind your shoulder. Logan felt a chill despite the warmth of the fire. The old man's words touched too closely on his private nightmares. How, he asked simply. Tonight you will drink a medicine that opens the doorway between worlds. You will walk the spirit path and face what haunts you. If you emerge, your mind will be clear for what lies ahead. Maya looked concerned. Silvercloud, the vision quest is dangerous for those not raised in our ways. More dangerous is a man whose spirit is divided in battle, the old man replied. He endangers himself and others. Logan considered the proposal. Part of him, the rational, skeptical part, dismissed it as superstition. Yet another part recognized truth in Silvercloud's assessment. The memory of the Apache boy had indeed haunted him, divided his focus, eroded his confidence in crucial moments. I'll do it, he decided. Silvercloud nodded approvingly. Prepare yourselves. The journey begins at sunset. As the sun sank toward the western mountains, Silvercloud led them to a small clearing near a spring-fed pool. He had spent the afternoon preparing, grinding various plants into powders, brewing concoctions that filled his dwelling with strange odors. Now he instructed Logan to remove his boots and shirt. The evening air was cool against Logan's skin as he complied, feeling oddly vulnerable. Silvercloud marked Logan's chest, forehead, and palms with red ochre mixed with some pungent oil. All the while he chanted softly in Apache. Maya stood nearby, her expression concerned but respectful of the ritual. When the preparations were complete, Silvercloud offered Logan a wooden bowl filled with dark liquid. Drink, he instructed, all of it. The liquid was bitter and thick, with an undertaste like rotting vegetation. Logan forced himself to swallow it all, fighting the urge to gag. Now, Silver Cloud said, taking the empty bowl, you will enter the pool. Submerge yourself completely 3 times. When you emerge, follow the path your spirit shows you. We will watch over your body while you journey. Logan approached the pool, its surface black and still in the fading light. He waded in, gasping as the cold water reached his waist. When he was chest deep, he took a deep breath and submerged himself completely. The cold was shocking, driving the air from his lungs. He surfaced, gulping air, then forced himself down again. By the 3rd submersion, his limbs felt strangely distant, as if they belonged to someone else. As he waded back to shore, the world began to shift and distort around him. Colors intensified, sounds became unnaturally clear, and the boundaries between objects seemed to pulse and breathe. It begins, he heard Silver Cloud say, the old man's voice echoing as if from a great distance. Follow your path, Blue Coat. Logan found himself walking away from the pool, drawn toward the forest by some invisible force. Behind him, he was vaguely aware of Maya calling his name, but he couldn't turn back. The forest received him like a living entity, branches reaching down to brush his face, roots rising to guide his feet. The fading daylight fractured into prismatic rays through the canopy, creating patterns that shifted and reformed with each step. He walked for what seemed like hours, though some distant part of his mind knew that time was moving strangely in this altered state. The forest gradually gave way to a landscape he recognized with growing dread, the Apache village from his nightmares. But unlike his dreams, where the village was always burning, here it stood intact. Teepees arranged in a circle, cooking fires burning, children playing. It was as if he had stepped back in time to before the raid. A small boy separated from the other children and approached Logan. With a jolt of recognition, Logan realized it was the same child he had shot, perhaps 10 years old, with serious eyes and a quiet dignity beyond his years. You seek forgiveness, the boy said in perfect English, but you do not yet understand what you did. I killed you, Logan replied, his voice thick with emotion. I shot you during the raid. The boy shook his head. You killed my body, but you did more than that. He gestured, and suddenly the scene changed. Logan was back in the chaos of the raid, gunfire, screaming, the acrid smell of gunpowder. He saw himself in cavalry uniform, raising his rifle as a small figure ran toward him through the smoke. The shot echoed with unnatural loudness. The boy fell. But now Logan could see what happened next. The boy's mother finding his body, her anguished wail rising above the battle sounds. Then others gathered. The boy's father, sisters, grandparents. Each face registered the same devastating grief. You did not kill just one, the boy's voice came from behind him. You wounded many spirits. You broke a chain that connected generations. The scene shifted again. Logan saw the boy's family afterward. The mother who stopped eating, the father who turned to whiskey, the sister who grew hard and bitter. He saw how one death rippled outward, changing dozens of lives. This is the weight you carry, the boy said. Not one death, but many broken lives. Logan fell to his knees, the enormity of it overwhelming him. I'm sorry, he whispered, knowing the words were woefully inadequate. Sorry does not restore what was lost, the boy agreed. But there is a path forward. The scene changed once more. Logan saw Maya standing beside the sun rack, saw Blackwood with his raven tattoo, saw Thunderhawk using sacred rituals to instill fear. More chains will be broken if you fail, the boy warned. More families shattered, both your people and mine. How do I stop it? Logan asked desperately. Not through vengeance, not through blood. The boy placed a small hand on Logan's chest. Here, find the truth here first. Logan felt something shift within him, a loosening of a knot he hadn't realized was there. The boy began to fade, the village dissolving around him. Wait, Logan called. Tell me your name, please. As the vision faded entirely, he heard the boy's voice one last time. I am Little Hawk, son of Swift Hawk. Remember my name when you meet my father. Logan found himself on his knees in the forest, gasping as if he'd run for miles. The effects of the medicine were wearing off, leaving him drained but strangely clear-headed. Dawn light filtered through the trees, revealing that he had traveled some distance from the spring. He made his way back slowly, each step bringing him more firmly back to reality. When he reached the clearing, he found Maya and Silver Cloud waiting beside a small fire. "You have returned," Silver Cloud observed. "What did you see?" Logan sank down beside the fire, accepting the water Maya offered. "I saw the boy I killed, Little Hawk. He showed me—" He struggled to articulate the experience. "He showed me the true cost of what I did. Not just one life, but many lives broken." Silver Cloud nodded. "This is wisdom, to see beyond the single arrow to all that it pierces." Maya was watching Logan with an unreadable expression. "Little Hawk?" she repeated. "You're certain that was his name?" "Yes, he said he was the son of Swift Hawk." Logan paused, noticing her pallor. "Maya, what is it?" "Swift Hawk is my father," she said quietly. "Little Hawk was my half-brother." The revelation hit Logan like a physical blow. "Your brother? But you never said—" "I didn't know it was you specifically," Maya replied, her voice strained. "I knew soldiers killed him in a raid. I knew one shot him as he ran for safety." Her eyes were bright with unshed tears. "Now I know it was you." Logan felt the fragile connection they had built crumbling. "Maya, if I had known, it wouldn't have changed anything." She cut him off. "You were a soldier following orders. My brother was just an Indian child." She stood abruptly. "I need to be alone." As she walked away toward the spring, Logan made to follow, but Silver Cloud restrained him with a surprisingly strong grip. "Let her go," the old man advised. "Some wounds need solitude to heal." Hours passed. The sun began its descent toward the western mountains, casting long shadows across the valley. Unable to wait any longer, Logan followed the path Maya had taken toward the spring. He found her sitting on a flat rock by the water's edge, her reflection fractured in the rippling surface. She sensed his presence but didn't turn. "I told you I needed to be alone," she said, her voice hollow. "And I respected that," Logan replied, keeping his distance. "But we can't move forward like this." Maya turned then, her eyes red-rimmed but dry. "Move forward? You killed my brother. How does one move forward from that?" Logan took a breath. "I don't know," he admitted. "I've spent a year trying to figure that out." "Did you see his face when you shot him?" The question came like a knife thrust. "Every night in my dreams." Logan's voice broke slightly. "He was running. I thought he had a weapon. It was smoke and chaos, but that's no excuse." Maya picked up a small stone and threw it into the spring with sudden violence. "My mother used to say that hatred is a poison we drink ourselves, hoping others will die from it." She looked up at him, her expression raw with conflict. "I've been poisoning myself for a year with hatred for faceless soldiers who took Little Hawk. Now the faceless has a name, has eyes. If you want to kill me," Logan said quietly, "I understand. I won't stop you. Don't you see? That would just continue the circle." She stood suddenly. "My brother was innocent. He never hurt anyone. If I kill you, I become what I hate." Logan took a careful step forward. "I can't undo what I did, but I can help stop the man who ordered it, who profits from it still." Maya studied him for a long moment. "I don't forgive you. I don't know if I ever can. But Little Hawk wouldn't want his death to prevent justice for others." She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "We continue our mission. For now, that's all I can vow for him." "It's more than I deserve," Logan said. They stood in silence, the spring bubbling between them, a small oasis of life in a landscape of hardship. Neither moved closer, but something had shifted. Not forgiveness, not trust, but perhaps the first fragile bridge across an impossible divide. When they returned to Silver Cloud's dwelling, the old medicine man nodded, seeing something in their bearing that told him they had taken the first difficult step on a longer journey. "Silver Cloud says we should leave for Medicine Rock today," Maya said, her tone neutral, but no longer cold. "The journey will take 2 days, and we're expected at Miller's Creek in 3. Logan nodded, accepting her terms. "After that," he agreed. Silver Cloud watched their exchange with knowing eyes. "The path ahead is difficult," he said. "You must be united in purpose, even if divided in heart. The man with the raven mark has many followers among both whites and Apache. He will not fall easily." "We'll be ready," Logan assured him. though doubt gnawed at the edges of his resolve. How could they present a united front when this new revelation stood between them? Maya rose, her decision apparently made. We should pack. Daylight is wasting. As she moved toward the dwelling to gather their supplies, Silvercloud leaned closer to Logan. She is stronger than you know, the old man murmured, and you are more necessary to her quest than you realize. When the moment comes, remember the boy's words, not vengeance, not blood. Logan nodded, wishing he shared the old man's confidence. The vision quest had shown him truths about himself, about the consequences of his actions. But it had also complicated an already tenuous alliance. As he rose to help with preparations, Logan found himself wondering if any redemption was possible in a land where the past hung as heavily as the desert sun, burning away pretenses and leaving only the stark reality of what had been done and what could never be undone. Yet they would continue. They would find Medicine Rock, discover Catherine Wynn's hidden evidence, and confront Blackwood and Thunderhawk. They would seek justice, not vengeance. Whether they could find personal peace in the process remained to be seen. The journey to Medicine Rock began in strange silence. Maya rode ahead with Silvercloud, occasionally conferring in low Apache tones that excluded Logan. He maintained a respectful distance behind them, understanding Maya's need for space after the revelation about her brother. The terrain grew increasingly rugged as they traveled northward. By midday, they were traversing a high plateau dotted with wind-sculpted rock formations that resembled giant chess pieces frozen in silent combat. The air was thinner here, each breath slightly less satisfying than the last. When they stopped to rest the horses at a small spring, Silvercloud approached the Logan while Maya filled their canteens. The wound between you is deep, the old man observed without preamble, but not mortal. Logan watched Maya's distant figure. I killed her brother. Some wounds don't heal. All wounds heal, Silvercloud contradicted, though some leave scars that remind us forever. He studied Logan with those unsettling pale eyes. She fights two battles, one against Blackwood, one within herself. The girl struggles to hate the man who now fights beside her. I don't blame her for hating me. Silvercloud made a dismissive gesture. Hate is easy. Forgiveness takes courage. Catherine Wynn taught her daughter that vengeance is a circle that never ends. He gazed toward the horizon where dark clouds were gathering. We must reach the ridge by nightfall. Storm comes. They pushed harder through the afternoon, ascending steadily toward a distant ridgeline. The threatened storm pursued them, a wall of purple-black clouds advancing from the west, occasionally illuminated by silent lightning. By dusk, they had reached the ridge, where Silvercloud led them to a shallow cave in the lee of a massive boulder. They brought the horses inside just as the first heavy raindrops began to fall. No fire tonight, Silvercloud announced, settling cross-legged near the cave entrance. Blackwood's men watched for smoke. Maya arranged her bedroll against the far wall, still maintaining her distance from Logan. They ate a cold meal of jerky and dried fruit as rain drummed against the stones outside and wind howled through the canyon below. The old medicine man produced a small pouch of tobacco and rolled a thin cigarette, lighting it with a strike, anywhere match that flared briefly in the growing darkness. The pungent smoke drifted through the cave, reminding Logan of the Vision Quest ceremony. Tomorrow we reach Medicine Rock, Silvercloud said, his weathered face briefly illuminated by the cigarette's glow. Sacred place, powerful spirits. The white man's map does not show it. Will Catherine's evidence still be there after all this time? Logan asked. If spirits have protected, yes. Silvercloud exhaled a stream of smoke. Your Sheriff Wilson, he has found what he seeks in town? We'll know when we meet him at Miller's Creek, Logan replied. Carter's a good lawman. If there's evidence to be found, he'll find it. The old man nodded thoughtfully. Law is a white man's medicine, strong sometimes, weak others, like all medicine. A particularly violent gust of wind drove rain into the cave entrance, forcing Silvercloud to retreat deeper inside. He settled between Logan and Maya, perhaps deliberately creating a buffer between them. Rest, he advised. Medicine Rock tests those who come with divided hearts. As the storm raged outside, Logan tried to find a comfortable position on the hard stone floor. Sleep eluded him. Occasionally, lightning illuminated the cave interior, revealing Maya's form curled beneath her blanket, her back to him. He thought of Little Hawk, the solemn-eyed boy from his vision, and tried to reconcile that child with Maya's half-brother. The connection made his guilt more personal, more immediate. No longer was it a nameless Apache child he had killed, but the brother of a woman he had come to respect, perhaps even to care for. When sleep finally claimed him, it was fitful and dream-haunted. Dawn arrived with clearing skies and a freshened landscape. As they prepared to depart, Maya approached Logan for the first time since her revelation. "Silver Cloud says we're being followed," she said without preamble. "At least 3 riders, keeping their distance." Logan immediately tensed. "Blackwood?" "Probably. The storm would have slowed them, but they'll gain ground today." "We should set an ambush," Logan suggested, checking his rifle. Maya shook her head. "Silver Cloud says no. Medicine Rock is only half a day's journey. If we push hard, we can reach it before they catch us." Her tone remained coolly professional, but at least she was speaking to him directly again. They set out as the sun crested the eastern mountains, riding at a faster pace than the previous day. Silver Cloud led them down from the ridge into a labyrinthine canyon system, following a path that seemed to exist more in his memory than in visible trails. By mid-morning, Logan spotted the telltale dust cloud of distant riders behind them. "They're gaining," he warned. Maya nodded grimly. "Silver Cloud says we're close. Another hour." The landscape changed subtly as they rode deeper into the canyon network. Logan noticed strange patterns in the rock walls, swirls and concentric circles that seemed too regular to be natural. Maya explained they were petroglyphs, ancient messages from ancestors who had inhabited these canyons centuries before. "They mark the approach to sacred ground," she said. "Silver Cloud says, few white men have seen Medicine Rock and lived to speak of it." "Comforting," Logan remarked dryly. Around midday, the canyon widened suddenly into a circular valley dominated by a massive stone formation at its center. Logan had expected something impressive from the name, but Medicine Rock exceeded his imagination. It rose nearly 100 feet from the valley floor, a monolithic pillar of red sandstone shaped like a hand reaching toward the sky. At the base of Medicine Rock, Silver Cloud dismounted and motioned for them to do the same. He approached a particular spot on the rock face, running his withered hand over the surface with evident reverence. "Here," he said, indicating a small, natural shelf about head height. "The hiding place Catherine Wynne described to me." "There," Silver Cloud announced, pointing toward the formation. "Medicine Rock, sacred to Apache, Navajo, Hopi. Place of power, place between worlds." They rode toward it, Logan feeling increasingly uneasy. The entire valley had an otherworldly quality, too silent, too perfect in its circular symmetry. Even the horses seemed affected, their ears flicking nervously as they approached the towering stone. At the base of Medicine Rock, Silver Cloud dismounted and motioned for them to do the same. He approached a particular section of the rock face, running his withered hand over symbols carved into the stone, concentric circles surrounding what appeared to be a small natural hollow. "Here," he said, his voice more formal than before. "The Ancient Ones placed guardians to protect sacred knowledge. Catherine Wynne understood this power. She chose wisely." Maya stepped forward eagerly, but Silver Cloud blocked her path with an outstretched arm. "Not so simple," he warned. "The hollow is protected. Only those judged worthy may reach within." Logan frowned. "Protected how?" In answer, Silver Cloud picked up a dead branch and pushed it toward the hollow. As it crossed an invisible boundary, the branch shuddered violently in the old man's hand. Fine cracks appeared along its length, spreading rapidly until the wood crumbled to dust that scattered in the gentle breeze. "The guardians test the spirit, not the flesh," Silver Cloud explained. "Those who approach with deception or ill intent will feel their life force drain away. Just as this wood was drained of its substance." Maya's expression hardened with determination. "My mother trusted me to find this. I am ready for any test." Silver Cloud nodded. "But you do not come alone." His pale eyes fixed on Logan. "The blue coat shares your quest. The guardians will test you both." "What must we do?" Logan asked, eyeing the hollow with new wariness. "First, the ceremony of approach." Silver Cloud withdrew items from his medicine pouch: tobacco, dried herbs, a small bone whistle. "Then each of you must place your hand upon the sacred symbols while speaking your true name and purpose. The guardians will look into your hearts." What followed was not the brief ceremony Logan had expected, but an elaborate ritual that lasted nearly an hour. Silver Cloud scattered offerings, chanted in multiple languages, and created intricate patterns with colored sand before the rock face. Maya joined in confidently, her movement suggesting she recognized the ancient forms. Logan followed their instructions awkwardly, aware that any mistake might be costly. Finally, Silver Cloud stepped back. Now, he said solemnly, the test of worthiness. Who will go first? After a moment's hesitation, Logan stepped forward. I will. Maya looked surprised, but Silver Cloud nodded approvingly. Logan placed his palm against the carved symbols, feeling the stone warm beneath his touch. I am Logan Hayes, he declared, his voice steady despite his racing heart. I seek the truth hidden here to bring justice to those who have suffered. The moment the words left his mouth, the stone beneath his hand grew intensely hot. Logan instinctively tried to pull away, but his palm seemed fused to the rock. A strange sensation washed over him, as if something was probing his mind, sifting through his memories, his fears, his intentions. Suddenly, he was no longer at Medicine Rock, but back in the Apache village during the raid. The chaos of that night surrounded him, gunfire, screaming, the smell of smoke. But this time he was frozen in place as Little Hawk ran toward him. He could see the boy clearly now, could see that what he'd mistaken for a rifle was merely a wooden stick, could see the terror in the child's eyes as Logan's finger tightened on the trigger. No, Logan shouted, both in the vision and in reality. I didn't know, I didn't want this. The vision shifted. Now he saw Blackwood giving the order to attack, saw the man's cold smile as he spoke of clearing vermin from valuable land, saw the connection between the raid and the gold mining operations that followed. This is why I seek the evidence, Logan gasped, understanding flowing through him. Not for revenge, but to expose the truth, to honor those who died by preventing more deaths. As suddenly as it had begun, the vision ended. Logan found himself on his knees before Medicine Rock, his palm blistered, but no longer bound to the stone. He looked up to see Maya and Silver Cloud watching him, the old man with knowing eyes, Maya with an expression that mingled concern with newfound respect. The Guardians have judged, Silver Cloud announced. Now you, daughter of Catherine. With visible trepidation, Maya approached the rock. She placed her hand where Logan's had been, wincing slightly at the residual heat. I am Maya Wind, daughter of Catherine and Swift Hawk, she stated firmly. I seek my mother's truth to bring justice to my people. Like Logan, she stiffened as the connection formed. Her eyes went blank, seeing things beyond the physical world. Tears began streaming down her face, though she made no sound. Her body trembled with the effort of enduring whatever test the Guardians had set for her. Long minutes passed. Logan moved to intervene, concerned by her prolonged ordeal, but Silver Cloud restrained him with surprising strength. Each test is different, the old man whispered. She faces her own demons. Finally, Maya gasped and fell backward, released from the stone's grasp. Logan caught her before she hit the ground. For a moment, she clung to him, her breath coming in ragged bursts. I saw her, she whispered. My mother. She showed me. Before she could finish, the rock face before them shifted. The hollow deepened, revealing a small natural chamber. Within it lay not just the oilskin package they'd expected, but a strange mechanism. A stone disc with symbols around its edge, mounted on a central pivot. A combination lock, Logan realized aloud. Apache style. Maya nodded, recovering her composure. The vision showed me how to open it. My mother said, she said I would know when I was ready to understand the meaning of the marks on my shoulder. With steady hands, she removed her jacket and pulled aside her shirt collar, revealing a small tattoo, a series of symbols matching those on the disc. Not a map, she explained, but a key. While Logan and Silver Cloud watched, Maya carefully rotated the stone disc, aligning specific symbols in a sequence she now understood. As the final symbol clicked into place, a hidden compartment in the rock wall slid open, revealing the true cachet Catherine Wynne had left behind. The oilskin package containing her journal and the government contract, but also a small leather pouch filled with gold samples taken from different mines, each marked with its origin, and a silver locket containing a family portrait. Catherine, Swift Hawk, a young Maya, and a small boy Logan recognized from his vision. Little Hawk. Complete evidence. Silvercloud nodded with satisfaction. Proof for both white man's law and tribal justice. Maya carefully gathered the items, her hands trembling slightly. She paused at the locket, opening it to look at her family as they had once been. Then she handed it to Logan. "See him," she said quietly. "See my brother as he lived, not just as he died." Logan accepted the locket, the weight of it somehow heavier than its physical mass. The boy in the image was smiling, his eyes bright with life and promise, so different from the terrified child of Logan's nightmares, or the solemn spirit of his vision quest. "Thank you," he said, his voice rough with emotion. He returned the locket to Maya, who tucked it safely away with the other evidence. As they gathered the precious items, a distant rumble caught their attention. "Thunder?" Logan questioned, glancing at the clear sky. Silvercloud's expression darkened. "Not weather. Horses. Many. Coming fast." Before they could react further, the sound of a rifle shot echoed across the valley, and rock splinters exploded from Medicine Rock inches from Logan's head. "They come too fast," Silvercloud observed grimly. "The man with the raven mark has found us." Before she could open it, however, Silvercloud raised a warning hand. "Riders come, 3 as I said. 1 is the man with the raven mark." Logan instantly shifted into combat readiness, surveying their position with a tactical eye. Medicine Rock offered little cover, and they were exposed in the center of the valley. "We need higher ground," he decided. "There's a ledge partway up the rock face. We could defend from there." Silvercloud shook his head. "No time. They come too fast." He pointed to a narrow fissure in the rock base. "Through there. A chamber inside. Safe place was for Maya looked skeptical. "Inside the rock? Are you certain?" "Many summers ago, I sheltered there during a great storm. Come, quickly." They led the horses to the fissure, which proved wider than it appeared from a distance. Single file, they entered the shadowy passage, emerging into a surprisingly spacious chamber within Medicine Rock itself. Light filtered in from unseen cracks above, illuminating smooth walls adorned with more petroglyphs. "Ancient ones use this place for ceremonies," Silvercloud explained. "Sacred space." Logan positioned himself near the entrance, rifle ready. "How did Blackwood find us?" he muttered. "Many eyes watch these canyons," Silvercloud replied cryptically. Maya had moved to the center of the chamber, where she carefully untied the oilskin package. Inside was a tightly folded sheet of paper, a map from the look of it, and a small leather journal. "My mother's journal," Maya confirmed, her voice thick with emotion. She opened it carefully, leafing through the pages. "It's all here. Detailed records of meetings between Blackwood and Thunderhawk. Agreements with mining companies. Names of officials who were bribed." She looked up, eyes shining. "This is the evidence we need." Logan nodded, but his attention remained focused on the fissure entrance. "They'll be here any minute. We need to plan our next move." "Open your medicine pouch," Silvercloud instructed Maya. "The one your mother gave you. Now we have both halves of the truth." Maya withdrew the small leather pouch from around her neck and carefully cut the sinew binding. Inside was a folded document, with an official seal, some kind of government contract, Logan guessed. Before she could examine it properly, hoofbeats echoed from outside, followed by voices. Logan motioned for silence, straining to hear. They went inside, a man's voice, Blackwood's, carried clearly to them. "Fan out. Watch the entrance. They're cornered now." Logan turned to his companions. "We're trapped," he whispered. Silvercloud seemed unconcerned. "There is another way out. Ancient path, up through the heart of the rock." He pointed to a narrow opening at the back of the chamber, barely visible in the dim light. "It leads to the top." "And then what?" Logan demanded. "We'd be even more exposed up there." "The canyon rim is reachable from the summit," the old man explained. "A difficult climb, but possible." Maya had already gathered the evidence, securing it inside her jacket. "What about the horses?" "We must leave them," Silvercloud said regretfully. "The path is for people, not animals." Logan weighed their options quickly. Staying meant a siege they couldn't win. The hidden path, risky as it was, offered their only chance. "Let's go," he decided, "but I'll hold them off while you two start climbing. Give you a head start." Maya shook her head. We go together or not at all? Maya, no, Logan, I won't leave you behind. Something had changed in her voice, a softening of the coldness that had characterized it since the revelation about her brother. Silver Cloud settled the matter. Together, the spirits have joined your paths for a reason. They gathered what supplies they could carry, left food and water for the horses, and proceeded to the narrow opening at the chamber's rear. Silver Cloud led the way, followed by Maya, with Logan bringing up the rear. The passage was cramped and pitch dark, requiring them to feel their way forward. Logan lost all sense of direction as they climbed upward through the stone heart of Medicine Rock. The air grew stale and hot, making each breath an effort. Just as claustrophobia threatened to overwhelm him, Logan felt a draft of fresh air. Moments later, they emerged onto a small platform near the top of Medicine Rock. The vast expanse of sky and surrounding canyon was almost dizzying after the confined passage. Look, Maya said, pointing downward. From their elevated position, they could see Blackwood and his men, two Apache scouts, circling Medicine Rock, clearly puzzled by their quarry's disappearance. Blackwood's face, even at a distance, showed frustration as he gestured angrily at the entrance they had used. They will find the inner chamber soon, Silver Cloud predicted. We must reach the canyon rim before they discover the hidden path. The summit of Medicine Rock was weathered into a relatively flat platform, perhaps 20 feet across. From there, Logan could see the challenge that awaited them, a treacherous traverse across a narrow stone bridge to the canyon wall, followed by a steep climb to the rim above. That doesn't look stable, he observed, eyeing the natural bridge dubiously. It has stood for 1,000 years, Silver Cloud replied. It will bear our weight if we cross with respect. The old man went first, moving with surprising agility across the stone span. Maya followed, her steps careful but confident. Logan came last, trying not to look down at the 100-foot drop below. They had just reached the canyon wall and begun the ascent when a shout echoed from Medicine Rock's summit. One of the Apache scouts had discovered their escape route and emerged onto the platform. Climb, Logan urged, pushing Maya ahead of him. Don't stop. The ascent was harrowing, a near vertical scramble up handholds and narrow ledges. Silver Cloud, despite his age, climbed with the practiced ease of someone who had made this journey before. Maya matched his pace, her mixed heritage perhaps giving her an Apache's natural affinity for climbing. Logan struggled more, his larger frame and heavier boots making the climb awkward. Below, he could hear Blackwood and the second scout emerging onto the summit, shouting to the first man who had spotted them. A shot rang out, the bullet striking rock inches from Logan's hand. He pressed himself against the cliff face, momentarily safe in the knowledge that his pursuers would need to make the same crossing he had before they could get a clearer shot. The rim seemed agonizingly far above. Logan's arms burned with fatigue, his fingers bloodied from the sharp stone. Another shot echoed through the canyon, this one going wide. Almost there, Maya called down encouragingly. She and Silver Cloud had nearly reached the top. With a final effort, Logan hauled himself up to a wider ledge just below the rim. Maya reached down, offering her hand. He took it, surprised by her strength as she helped pull him up the last few feet. They collapsed on the canyon rim, gasping for breath. Below, Blackwood and his men had begun crossing the stone bridge from Medicine Rock. They follow still, Silver Cloud observed. Determined hunters. We need to keep moving, Logan insisted, checking his rifle. Miller's Creek is still a day's ride and we're on foot now. Maya glanced back toward Medicine Rock, her expression hardening. Or we end this here. What do you mean? She pointed to a spot farther along the rim. From there, we'd have clear shots. We could finish Blackwood now. The suggestion took Logan aback. That would be an ambush, an execution. It would be justice, Maya countered. For my brother, for my mother, for all the others he's killed. Logan studied her face, the tight jaw, the cold fire in her eyes. This was the vengeance he'd seen consume other men, the circles Silver Cloud had warned about. Maya, he said carefully, that's not why we came. We have the evidence now. We can bring him to proper justice, both white man's law and Apache custom. She turned on him fiercely. How can you say that? After what he made you do? After my brother? The memory of Little Hawk's words from the Vision Quest returned to Logan, not through vengeance, not through blood. Because your brother showed me a different path, he said softly. Maya's expression flickered with confusion. What? During the vision quest, Little Hawk told me that vengeance wouldn't heal what was broken. Logan took a risk, gently touching her arm. Your mother believed the same, didn't she? Maya's eyes glistened suddenly. She did, she admitted. Even after everything she witnessed, she believed in justice over revenge. Her gaze drifted to Silver Cloud, who had been watching their exchange silently. What say you, old one? What would the spirits counsel? The medicine man's weathered face remained impassive. The spirits speak through your heart if you listen. But remember, a bullet ends only one man's evil. Truth exposed can end many men's evil. For a tense moment, Logan thought Maya would reject their counsel. Then almost imperceptibly, she nodded. We go to Miller's Creek, she decided. But if Blackwood follows, if he threatens the evidence again? She left the sentence unfinished, its meaning clear. They set off along the canyon rim, moving as quickly as caution allowed. Behind them, Blackwood and his men had reached the canyon wall and begun their own climb. The pursuit would continue. By nightfall, they had covered several miles of rough country. Without horses, their progress was painfully slow. Logan noticed Maya favoring her right ankle, though she made no complaint. You're hurt, he observed during a brief rest. It's nothing, she replied curtly, but winced as she tried to stand. Without asking permission, Logan knelt and gently examined her ankle. Sprained, not broken, but you shouldn't walk on it more tonight. Silver Cloud guided them to a small cave where they could rest without a fire. Blackwood will not climb in darkness, the old man assured them. Even his Apache scouts fear night spirits in these canyons. We are safe until dawn. They shared the last of their provisions, a meager meal of jerky and dried fruit. After eating, Silver Cloud moved to the cave entrance to keep watch, leaving Maya and Logan in awkward silence. Logan tore a strip from his shirt and soaked it in water from his canteen. What are you doing? Maya asked. Cold compress. For your ankle. He hesitated. May I? After a moment's consideration, Maya extended her leg. Logan carefully wrapped the damp cloth around her swollen ankle. My mother taught you this? She asked unexpectedly. Logan looked up, surprised. What? This treatment. My mother was known for healing. I wondered if you learned this from her. No, Logan said softly. My wife taught me, before the fever took her and our unborn child. Maya's expression changed, surprise replacing guardedness. You never mentioned a wife. Some wounds are easier not to speak of. His hands remained gentle on her ankle, his eyes downcast. What was her name? Maya asked, her voice softer than he'd ever heard it. Sarah. The name felt strange on his lips after so long. She was a school teacher, believed education could build bridges between all peoples. A sad smile touched his lips. She would have liked your mother, I think. Maya was silent for a moment. Little Hawk wanted to be a teacher too, she said finally. He collected books, English books, said someday he would teach Apache children to read, to understand the white man's world. Their eyes met in the dim light, a moment of connection through shared loss. The people we've lost, Maya said quietly, they shape us even in absence. Logan nodded, completing the ankle wrap. They do. They didn't speak further, but the silence between them had transformed from hostile to something almost companionable. Two travelers united by grief, finding unexpected common ground in the darkness. The loss of their supplies with the horses meant they would go hungry tomorrow unless they found game or wild plants. We should reach Miller's Creek by midday tomorrow, Logan calculated. Carter will be there with fresh horses, supplies. Maya nodded, her earlier anger apparently subsided. She had been examining her mother's journal by the last light of dusk, absorbing its contents with intense concentration. My mother documented everything, she said. Meetings, agreements, payments. Blackwood was planning this for years, positioning himself in the cavalry specifically to gain authority in this region. She looked up, her expression grim. The raid on my village, on Little Hawk, wasn't random. The village stood on land with gold deposits. Logan felt sick. The revelation confirmed his worst suspicions about Blackwood, but hearing it stated so baldly made the horror fresh again. And Thunderhawk? He asked. How was he convinced to betray his own people? Blackwood exploited division within the tribe, Maya explained, turning a page in the journal. My father, Swifthawk, was Thunderhawk's rival for leadership. When the Indian agent had my father arrested for marrying my mother, Thunderhawk seized power. Blackwood approached him with an offer: help clear specific lands of Apache presence, receive gold and weapons in return. Thunderhawk agreed to sacrifice his own people? Logan couldn't keep the disgust from his voice. Not at first. Listen to this. Maya began reading directly from her mother's journal. July 15th. Witness Blackwood's method today. He brings Thunderhawk whiskey from Kentucky, watches him drink until his eyes glaze. Then the poison words begin. Swift Hawk is weak, they say, too bewitched by a white woman to see the danger to his people. Only Thunderhawk is strong enough to make necessary sacrifices. Maya looked up, her face tight with anger. My mother recorded Blackwood's exact words. The Apache will only survive by choosing the right side. Move them from the southern lands now, or watch soldiers move them with bullets later. Swifthawk would never understand this truth. Manipulating him with fear, Logan observed, and pride. Maya's tone hardened. My mother writes that over months, Thunderhawk changed. The gold became more important than the people. The sun rack became his tool for silencing dissent. Silvercloud, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. Thunderhawk was once a great warrior. His fall shows how easily strength becomes cruelty when guided by fear and greed. The government contract, Logan remembered suddenly. The document in your mother's pouch. What does it show? Maya withdrew it carefully. In the fading light, she could just make out the text. It's a mining claim filed by Blackwood under a false name, dated 3 years ago, before any of the raids began. It claims rights to land that was still officially designated as Apache territory. Her voice grew more excited. And it's countersigned by a federal Indian agent named Collins. Conspiracy, Logan realized. Blackwood, this agent Collins, and Thunderhawk, all working together to drive the Apache from gold-rich land. This is what my mother died for, Maya said softly. This proof. They fell silent, each absorbed in private thoughts as darkness enveloped their shelter. Logan took the first watch, positioning himself at the cave entrance where he could observe the starlit landscape for any sign of pursuit. Hours later, Maya relieved him. As they exchanged places, their hands touched briefly. I'm sorry about earlier, she said quietly. The thought of having Blackwood in my rifle sights, I wasn't thinking clearly. I understand, Logan assured her. Better than most. She studied him in the dim starlight. You've changed, since the vision quest. Your brother showed me things I needed to see, made me understand that killing Blackwood wouldn't erase what happened. He hesitated. Maya, I know you can never forgive me for Little Hawk. I'm trying, she interrupted, surprising him. Not for your sake, but for mine. My mother always said that hatred is a poison we drink ourselves, hoping others will die from it. A sad smile ghosted across her face. She was very wise. Sometimes I wasn't ready to hear her wisdom. Logan nodded, touched by her candor. Get some rest. Long walk tomorrow. As he settled onto the hard ground, Logan reflected that whatever happened at Miller's Creek, whether Carter was waiting with reinforcements or Blackwood caught up to them first, something fundamental had shifted between him and Maya. Not forgiveness, perhaps, but the beginning of understanding. A recognition that they were bound together by tragedy, but didn't have to be defined by it. It wasn't redemption, but it was something. They set out at first light, Silvercloud setting a pace that belied his years. The terrain gradually descended from rugged highlands to rolling foothills dotted with juniper and pinyon pine. By mid-morning, Logan spotted familiar landmarks. We're close to Miller's Creek, he announced. Another hour, maybe less. Maya nodded, her expression a mixture of relief and apprehension. Do you trust your Sheriff Wilson to have held his part of the plan? With my life, Logan affirmed. Carter's as steady as they come. Silvercloud, who had stopped to examine tracks in the dusty ground, looked up with concern. Many horses passed here, recent, heading toward the creek. Logan knelt to examine the tracks himself. At least 6 riders. Could be Blackwood gathered reinforcements. They proceeded with heightened caution, keeping to cover wherever possible. As they approached Miller's Creek, Logan signaled a halt, detecting voices ahead. Stay here, he whispered, drawing his revolver. I'll scout. He crept forward through dense undergrowth until he had a clear view of the creek and the small clearing beside it where he had arranged to meet Carter. What he saw made his blood run cold. Sheriff Wilson was there, but as a prisoner. He sat slumped against a tree, hands bound behind him, face bloodied. Around the clearing were 5 armed men, a mix of rough-looking whites and Mexican bandits, judging by their appearance. And standing over Wilson, unmistakable with his raven tattoo visible above his collar, was Isaiah Blackwood. Logan retreated silently to where Maya and Silver Cloud waited. "Ambush," he reported grimly. "Carter's been captured. Blackwood's there with 5 gunmen." Maya's hand went to her rifle. "What about the Apache scouts who were following us?" "Didn't see them, but they could be nearby." Logan thought rapidly, assessing their options. "We're outnumbered, outgunned, and they have a hostage. We still have what they want," Maya pointed out, touching the document secured inside her jacket. "The evidence." Silver Cloud, who had been silent, suddenly spoke. "I will go. Create distraction. Old man, alone, not threatening. While they watch me, you two circle behind." "Too dangerous," Logan objected immediately. "Blackwood won't hesitate to shoot you." The old medicine man smiled faintly. "I have lived many winters. My time is short, whether by bullet or age. But you two must survive to bring truth to light." Before Logan could argue further, Silver Cloud began walking openly toward the clearing, his gait deliberately slow and unsteady, like a traveler lost and weary. "Damn it," Logan muttered. He turned to Maya. "Circle right. I'll go left. Wait for my shot before you fire." They separated, moving through the brush with practiced stealth. Logan could hear Silver Cloud's voice now, speaking in Apache, then switching to English. He was playing his part perfectly, a confused old man stumbling into a dangerous situation. Logan positioned himself behind a fallen log with a clear view of the clearing. Blackwood was interrogating Silver Cloud, his stance impatient and threatening. The gunman had relaxed slightly at the appearance of the seemingly harmless old man, but they remained alert, weapons ready. Sheriff Wilson had raised his head at Silver Cloud's arrival. Though battered, he appeared conscious and aware. His eyes scanned the surrounding woods, perhaps suspecting that the old Apache wasn't alone. Logan took careful aim at the nearest gunman, a bearded white man with a shotgun. Across the clearing, he caught a glimpse of Maya in position, her rifle trained on another of Blackwood's men. Suddenly, Silver Cloud raised his arms, beginning what appeared to be a ceremonial chant. The unexpected action drew everyone's attention, exactly as the old man had intended. Logan fired, dropping the bearded man instantly. Maya's shot came a split second later, felling another gunman. The remaining 3 scattered for cover, returning fire wildly into the surrounding woods. Blackwood dragged Sheriff Wilson up, using him as a shield as he backed toward the horses tethered nearby. "Hayes," he shouted, "I know you're out there. Show yourself or the sheriff dies." Logan held his position, sighting carefully on one of the remaining gunmen who had taken cover behind a boulder. The man made the mistake of peering out, and Logan's next shot caught him in the shoulder, spinning him to the ground. From the other side of the clearing, Maya maintained steady fire, pinning down the 2 remaining henchmen. Silver Cloud had disappeared. Whether taking cover or shot in the initial exchange, Logan couldn't tell. "Last chance, Hayes," Blackwood called, pressing his revolver to Wilson's temple. "Throw out your weapons and the Apache girl's evidence." Sheriff Wilson, despite his precarious position, shouted, "Don't do it, Logan. He'll kill us anyway." Blackwood responded by striking Wilson with his gun butt, drawing blood from a fresh cut on the sheriff's forehead. 10 seconds, Hayes. Then his brains decorate this nice green grass." "You think this is just about gold, don't you?" Blackwood called out, his voice taking on a new edge of pride. "Fools, this is about power, about territory, about removing the final obstacle to the advance of civilization." Logan kept his rifle steady, seeking a clear shot. "You're nothing but a thief and murderer, Blackwood." Blackwood laughed, the sound chilling. "Men in Washington are waiting for results. They have plans for this territory, and I'll be its first governor when the Apache problem is resolved." His eyes gleamed with a fervent light. "The gold is just the beginning. This land will be worth 10 times that once the railroad comes through." Logan felt movement beside him. Maya had silently repositioned herself for a clear shot at one of the remaining gunmen. "I could hit Blackwood from here," she whispered, a dangerous edge to her voice. "End this now." Logan glanced at her, recognizing the cold fire in her eyes. The same look he'd carried for a year after his wife's death. The desire for vengeance that consumed everything in its path. "Maya," he said softly, "remember what you told me at the spring. The circle. Don't become what you hate." Her rifle barrel wavered slightly. "This isn't hatred. It's justice, again. If you shoot him now, using Wilson as bait, how are you different from him using violence for his ends?" Logan held her gaze. "We bring him to justice, real justice. That's what your mother died for. What Little Hawk would want." For an agonizing moment, Maya's finger remained on the trigger. Then, almost imperceptibly, she nodded, adjusting her aim to the gunman instead of Blackwood. "I trust you," she whispered, the words clearly costing her. "But if Wilson dies..." Logan understood the unfinished threat. "He won't." He called out to Blackwood, "I'm coming out. Don't harm the sheriff." Logan weighed his options rapidly. He had no clear shot at Blackwood, while the man used Wilson as cover. Maya was too far away on the opposite side of the clearing for them to coordinate effectively. Before he could decide, a new voice rang out from the direction of the creek. "Blackwood, release him!" All eyes turned toward the newcomer, a tall Apache warrior in his late 40s, accompanied by at least a dozen mounted tribesmen. They formed an imposing line along the creek bank, rifles and bows at the ready. Logan recognized the leader instantly from Maya's description. Swifthawk, her father. Blackwood's composure cracked slightly. "This doesn't concern you, Swifthawk. This is between me and the law." "It concerns me when you threaten my daughter," Swifthawk replied evenly. "When you kill my son, when you corrupt my tribe." At the mention of his daughter, Blackwood's gaze darted around the clearing with new understanding. "The half-breed interpreter," he realized aloud. "She's yours." "Maya Wind is my blood," Swifthawk confirmed, "as was Little Hawk, the boy your soldiers murdered." Blackwood laughed harshly. "If you've come for revenge, you're too late. Your daughter and her white friend already have what they came for, evidence that will destroy everything we've built." "Not revenge," Swifthawk corrected. "Justice. Thunderhawk has been removed from power. The Council of Elders now leads the tribe. We come to ensure you face both white man's law and Apache justice." The standoff stretched tautly, no one moving. Blackwood still held Wilson hostage, but his remaining gunmen were now caught between Logan, Maya, and Swifthawk's warriors. "It's over, Blackwood," Logan called, standing from his cover but keeping his rifle trained on the former officer. "Even if you kill Wilson, you can't escape. Too many witnesses now." Maya emerged from the opposite side, her own rifle steady. "Drop your weapon," she commanded, "or the next shot takes your arm." A cruel smile twisted Blackwood's face. "You trust this man?" he called to Maya. "This is the soldier who killed your brother on my orders. He knew Little Hawk was just a child." His eyes gleamed. "And now he's just using you to clear his conscience." Logan's jaw tightened. "Don't listen to him, Maya. He's trying to divide us." Maya's rifle remained steady. "I know the difference," she replied coldly, "between a man who suffers for his mistakes and a man who takes pride in his crimes." Blackwood's smile faltered. "Touching, but your mother said something similar before I silenced her." For a moment, Logan thought Blackwood might surrender. Then the man's face twisted with rage. He shoved Wilson aside and fired rapidly at Maya, forcing her to dive for cover. Logan took the shot he'd been waiting for, his bullet catching Blackwood in the side. The man staggered but remained standing, returning fire at Logan now. Swifthawk's warriors loosed a volley of arrows and bullets. Blackwood's remaining men fell, riddled with projectiles. Blackwood himself, wounded but still dangerous, made a desperate dash for the horses. He reached a gray gelding and swung into the saddle, spurring the animal toward a gap in Swifthawk's line. Two warriors moved to intercept him, but Blackwood shot one from the saddle. The other's horse reared, creating an opening that Blackwood exploited, galloping past and up the creek bank. "After him," Swifthawk ordered, and several warriors wheeled their mounts in pursuit. Logan hurried to Sheriff Wilson, cutting his bonds with a knife. "Carter, you all right?" Wilson grimaced, working feeling back into his wrists. Been better, but I'll live. Blood trickled from a cut above his eye. You should have seen what he did to Jenkins. The company's secretary? Wilson nodded grimly. Poor man gave me the evidence. Then Blackwood's men caught us both. He paused, swallowing hard. Blackwood tortured him right in front of me. When Jenkins begged for mercy, that devil just smiled and said, nothing personal. But between your life and the gold is worth considerably more. Wilson's eyes hardened. Shot him like putting down a lame horse. Said it was a lesson for me about the cost of interference. He looked up at Logan with grim satisfaction. But I've still got what we need. Lists of payoffs, shipping records for the gold, everything. We have Catherine Wynn's evidence too, Logan told him, helping the sheriff to his feet. It's over, Carter. We've got him. Not until he's caught, Wilson countered, retrieving his gun belt from where it had been tossed aside by his captors. Blackwood's too dangerous to leave loose. Maya approached, her face tense with worry. My father's warriors will run him down, she said, though her tone suggested less than complete confidence. Silver Cloud, Logan remembered suddenly. Where is he? They found the old medicine man seated calmly beside the creek, washing a graze wound on his arm, where a bullet had passed through his sleeve without seriously injuring him. The spirits protected me, he explained simply, as I knew they would. Swifthawk returned a short time later, his expression grave. Blackwood knows these canyons well. He found a path too narrow for horses to follow. My men continue on foot, but he shook his head, the gesture eloquent in its resignation. He'll head for the territorial border, Wilson predicted. Try to reach Mexico. Then we'll alert the authorities in every town between here and the border, Logan decided. With the evidence we have, he'll be the most wanted man in the territory. Maya had been conferring quietly with her father. Now she approached Logan and Wilson. Swifthawk says Thunderhawk has been confined by the tribal council. They await evidence of his crimes before pronouncing judgment. They shall have it, Wilson promised. Once I've sent telegrams about Blackwood, we'll ride to the reservation together. This conspiracy will be exposed from both sides. As the afternoon waned, they buried the dead, tended to wounds, and prepared for the journey back to civilization. Swifthawk provided fresh horses for Logan, Maya, and Wilson. Silvercloud declined to accompany them, stating that his place was at Medicine Rock, guarding the sacred site. Before departing, the old medicine man took Logan aside. You have begun the healing, he said, but the path is long. Remember what the boy's spirit showed you? Logan nodded solemnly. I will. Silvercloud turned to Maya next, clasping her hands in his. Daughter of two worlds, you have found strength in both. Your mother's spirit rests easier now. Tears glistened in Maya's eyes as she embraced the old man. Thank you for your guidance. As they prepared to mount up, Swifthawk approached Logan with evaluating eyes. My daughter says you are the one who shot Little Hawk, he said bluntly. Logan met his gaze steadily. I am. There's nothing I can say or do to change that, but I hope helping bring Blackwood to justice might begin to balance the scales. Swifthawk was silent for a long moment. Among our people, when blood debt exists between families, it can be resolved in three ways: through more bloodshed, through payment, or through service. He glanced at Maya. My daughter has chosen the third path for you. She asks that you serve our people by helping build understanding between Apache and white man. Logan looked at Maya in surprise. She gave a small nod, confirming her father's words. I would be honored, Logan said sincerely. Sheriff Wilson, overhearing this exchange, added his own perspective. The territory could use a lawman who understands both sides, he remarked. Someone with experience tracking criminals across cultural boundaries. The implication was clear, but Logan didn't respond immediately. The idea of returning to a law enforcement role, this time serving justice rather than corrupt orders, required consideration. They mounted up, forming a strange but unified procession. Sheriff Wilson leading, followed by Logan and Maya riding side by side, with Swifthawk and his warriors forming a protective rear guard. As they rode away from Miller's Creek, Logan found himself stealing glances at Maya. The woman who had every reason to hate him had instead offered a path toward redemption. Not forgiveness, that might never come, but purpose. What you said to your father, he began awkwardly, about my service to your people. I meant it, Maya interrupted. My mother believed bridges could be built between our worlds. So do I. She met his eyes directly. And I believe you are meant to help build them. Why dying? The question escaped before Logan could reconsider it. Maya was silent for several strides of their horses. Because you see clearly now, she said finally. You've walked in both worlds and carry the pain of each. Such men are rare. It wasn't a declaration of trust or affection. It was something more valuable, recognition of shared purpose. They rode on toward Copper Ridge where telegrams would be sent, statements recorded, and the machinery of white man's justice set in motion. Then they would continue to the Apache Reservation, where tribal justice would complete the circle. Blackwood remained at large, a dangerous loose end that troubled Logan deeply. But for now, the evidence was secure, the conspiracy exposed, and the alliance between them solidified by trial and blood. The sun sank toward the western mountains, painting the landscape in gold and crimson. Ahead lay uncertainty, but also possibility. Behind lay ghosts that might never be fully exorcised, but perhaps could be quieted. Logan Hayes, once a deserter haunted by an Apache boy's death, rode forward with that boy's sister at his side. The symmetry wasn't lost on him. Neither was the fragile promise it contained. Copper Ridge welcomed them with the wary curiosity typical of frontier towns confronted with unusual alliances. Sheriff Wilson immediately set to work, sending telegrams to territorial authorities and securing the evidence in his office safe. Swift Hawk and his warriors camped outside town, unwilling to subject themselves to the suspicious glares and potential hostility of the townspeople. Maya moved between both worlds, translating and mediating as needed. 3 days of intense activity followed. Officials arrived from the territorial capital to take statements. Mining company representatives, initially hostile, became cooperative when faced with incontrovertible evidence of their own employees' complicity in Blackwood's scheme. Most promising was the arrival of a federal Indian agent, not the corrupt Collins implicated in the conspiracy, but his replacement, a serious young man named Parker, who seemed genuinely committed to justice for the Apache. Throughout this flurry of legal proceedings, reports trickled in regarding Blackwood. He had been spotted heading south, wounded but still dangerous. Posses were in pursuit, telegraph lines humming with descriptions and alerts. On the fourth day, with the immediate legal work completed, Wilson, Logan, Maya, and Agent Parker prepared to depart for the Apache Reservation. Swift Hawk and his warriors had gone ahead to prepare the tribal council. As they saddled their horses outside the sheriff's office, Wilson drew Logan aside. "Got something for you," he said, reaching into his pocket. He withdrew the badge, not a deputy's shield this time, but the silver star of a U.S. Marshal. Logan stared at it in confusion. "What's this?" "Marshal Thornton was impressed with your work," Wilson explained. "Said the territory needs men who can operate in both worlds. The paperwork's been filed." "I didn't ask for this," Logan protested. "Didn't have to. Your actions spoke for you." Wilson pressed the badge into Logan's reluctant hand. "Think about it. Territory's changing. Law needs to change with it." Before Logan could respond, gunshots erupted at the far end of the street. Townspeople scattered, diving for cover as a lone rider galloped through, firing wildly at pursuers behind him. "Blackwood," Wilson growled, drawing his pistol. Even at a distance, the raven tattoo on the rider's neck was unmistakable. Blackwood's horse was lathered with sweat, its sides heaving. The man himself looked desperate, clothes torn, blood staining his left side where Logan had shot him days before. Logan stepped into the street, badge glinting in the sunlight, rifle raised. "That's far enough, Blackwood!" The horse reared as Blackwood yanked the reins, nearly colliding with a water trough. His eyes, wild with desperation, fixed on Logan. "Hayes," he snarled, "should have known you'd be here." A posse of riders appeared at the far end of the street, the men who'd been chasing him. Blackwood was trapped between them and Logan. "It's over," Logan called. "Surrender and face trial." Blackwood's laugh was harsh, almost manic. "Trial? There won't be any trial." He swung down from his horse, using the animal as cover while keeping his pistol trained on Logan. "I know what happens to white men who stand trial for Indian affairs. Scapegoats, all of us." Wilson had positioned himself behind a water barrel, his own gun aimed at Blackwood. "You're surrounded, Isaiah. Don't make this worse." Maya emerged from the sheriff's office, the evidence documents clutched to her chest. Blackwood's eyes flickered to her with venomous recognition. "The half-breed," he spat, "still alive and causing trouble." "We have everything," Maya said evenly. "The agreements, the mining claims, the letters to Agent Collins. Thunderhawk has already confessed." Something changed in Blackwood's face, the realization that his entire scheme had crumbled. For a moment, despair seemed to overtake him. Then his expression hardened. "None of you understand what I was building," he said. "Order. Progress. The territory needs men who make hard decisions." His gun shifted toward Maya. "If I'm going to hang anyway." Logan saw the intent in Blackwood's eyes a split second before he squeezed the trigger. Without hesitation, Logan fired. Blackwood staggered, his shot going wild. He looked down in surprise at the crimson stains spreading across his chest, then back up at Logan. "You could have killed me at Medicine Rock," he rasped, blood bubbling at his lips. "Why wait?" Logan lowered his smoking rifle. "Because this isn't vengeance. It's justice." Blackwood's knees buckled. As he collapsed in the dusty street, his hand moved toward his hidden boot knife. Wilson's shot rang out, ending the threat permanently. In the ringing silence that followed, Logan approached the fallen man. Blackwood's eyes were already glazing, staring blindly at the sky. The man who had orchestrated so much suffering, who had haunted Logan's nightmares, now looked strangely diminished in death. Maya came to stand beside him, her expression solemn. "It's done," she said quietly. Logan nodded, feeling neither triumph nor regret, only a somber finality. "Not the way I expected." "You could have killed him at the first shot," Wilson observed, holstering his pistol. "You aimed for his shoulder." "Wanted him to stand trial," Logan admitted. "Thought the families deserved that much." Wilson clasped his shoulder. "That's why you'll make a good marshal, Hayes. Justice before vengeance by him." They watched as Blackwood's body was lifted onto a wagon bound for the undertaker. Logan found himself thinking of the Apache boy, Little Hawk, and all the others who had died because of one man's greed. No death could balance that scale. But perhaps the truth being known, the conspiracy exposed, was the best justice possible. Agent Parker, who had witnessed the exchange from the boardwalk, stepped forward. "This doesn't change our purpose," he reminded them. "The evidence must still be presented to the tribal council. Thunderhawk must answer for his role." They departed the following morning, leaving Blackwood's body to be buried in the Boot Hill Cemetery outside town. An ignominious end for a man who had once commanded respect and authority. Logan felt Maya move to his side, her expression unreadable, as she gazed at the corpse of the man who had orchestrated so much suffering. "Not the justice we planned," Wilson commented quietly. "Perhaps it's fitting," Maya replied. "He died alone in the wilderness like so many of his victims." Agent Parker, who had witnessed the exchange, stepped forward. "This doesn't change our purpose," he reminded them. "The evidence must still be presented to the tribal council. Thunderhawk must answer for his role." They departed an hour later, leaving Blackwood's body to be buried in the Boot Hill Cemetery outside town, an ignominious end for a man who had once commanded respect and authority. The journey to the Apache reservation took 2 days, during which Logan found himself increasingly contemplating Wilson's offer. The marshal's badge remained in his saddlebag, neither accepted nor rejected. Maya, noting his preoccupation, finally broached the subject as they made camp on the second night. "The badge troubles you," she observed. Logan stared into the campfire. "Last time I wore a badge, I ended up following orders that led to your brother's death. This would be different. You would answer to your own conscience first." He looked up, meeting her steady gaze across the flames. "And if my conscience leads me to protect Apache interests over white settlers sometimes, then you would be doing exactly what is needed," she replied simply. The tribal council received them the following day in a solemn gathering of the clan elders. Thunderhawk was brought before them, his proud bearing somewhat diminished by his confinement, but his eyes still defiant. What followed was a remarkable fusion of legal traditions. Agent Parker presented the evidence in formal legal terms. Maya translated, but also contextualized, making the white man's documents meaningful in Apache cultural terms. Swifthawk spoke of Thunderhawk's betrayal of tribal values. Sheriff Wilson described the impact on relations between settlers and Apache. And Logan, to his own surprise, found himself called to testify about the raid on Little Hawk's village, a painful recounting that left many in the assembly visibly moved. When all evidence had been presented, the council withdrew to deliberate. The wait stretched for hours, during which Logan found himself standing beside Maya at the edge of the encampment, gazing toward the distant mountains. "What will they decide?" he asked. "Not death," Maya replied confidently. "That would make him a martyr to those who still support him. More likely exile, complete separation from the tribe. For an Apache, that is a living death." Logan nodded, understanding. "And after? What will you do?" Maya's gaze remained fixed on the horizon. "Ida Parker has offered me a position as official interpreter and cultural liaison. I would work with both the agency and the tribal council." A small smile touched her lips. "Building bridges, as my mother wished." "You'll be good at it," Logan said sincerely. She turned to face him fully. "And you, Logan Hayes, will you take the marshal's badge?" He had been pondering that question for days now. "If I did," he said carefully, "my first appointment would be in this region. I'd be working with Parker and with you." "Is that your decision then?" Logan reached into his pocket, withdrawing the silver star. Its weight had felt like a burden when Wilson first presented it. Now it felt like a possibility. "Yes," he decided, closing his hand around the badge. "But on my terms, justice before law, when the two conflict. And I'll need a guide who understands both worlds." Maya's eyes held his. "I think we can arrange that, Marshal Hayes." The council's decision, when announced, confirmed Maya's prediction. Thunderhawk was stripped of his position and name, sentenced to exile far from tribal lands. The sun rack, symbol of his corrupted authority, was to be dismantled and its wood burned in a purification ceremony. In the days that followed, Logan formally accepted the marshal's position. Maya began her work with Agent Parker, establishing new protocols for communication between the agency and the tribal council. Sheriff Wilson returned to Copper Ridge, his role in exposing the conspiracy having earned him newfound respect in the territory. Swifthawk, reinstated as a respected elder, though not as chief, presided over a memorial ceremony for Little Hawk and the other victims of Blackwood's machinations. At his invitation, Logan attended, standing solemnly among the Apache as prayers were offered to guide the spirits of the dead. Afterward, as the mourners dispersed, Swifthawk approached Logan. "Your badge," he said, nodding toward the silver star now pinned to Logan's vest. "It is good. But remember, true authority comes not from metal, but from how you walk between worlds." "I'll remember," Logan promised. That evening, he found Maya sitting alone by a small fire at the edge of the encampment. She was writing in a journal, continuing her mother's practice of documenting important events. She explained when he joined her. "Recording today's ceremony?" She nodded. "And the council's decision. The beginning of a new chapter for the tribe." She set the journal aside, studying him in the firelight. "You leave tomorrow?" "Back to Copper Ridge first, then wherever the marshal's service sends me." He hesitated. "But I'll return." "I know." Her certainty was somehow more affecting than any emotional declaration might have been. They sat in companionable silence as night settled over the reservation. The stars emerged, brilliant in the clear desert sky, the same stars that had witnessed bloodshed and betrayal now overlooking the tentative beginnings of reconciliation. "Silver Cloud would say the spirits have brought balance," Maya observed, following his gaze upward. "Have they?" Logan wondered. "So much was lost. Your brother, your mother, others whose names I'll never know." "Balance doesn't mean the past is erased," she replied softly. "It means the future can still be changed." After a moment, Logan spoke again, his voice barely audible. "I never asked. What was he like?" "Little Hawk." The question hung between them, a final barrier neither had dared approach. Maya was silent so long, Logan thought she wouldn't answer. "He laughed easily," she said finally, her voice steady despite the weight of memory. "Found joy in simple things. Collected feathers. Not just eagle or hawk, but tiny bluebird feathers, finch feathers. Said they reminded him that strength comes in all sizes." A small, genuine smile touched her lips. "He could mimic any bird call." Used to wake me at dawn with mockingbird songs outside my window. Logan listened, painting the picture in his mind of the boy whose life he had taken, no longer just a faceless victim, but a person, real and complex. "Thank you," he said simply, "for telling me. A person isn't truly gone while their stories are still told," Maya replied. After another moment of silence, her hand found his in the darkness. Not a romantic gesture, but one of shared purpose. We carry their names forward by building something they would have wanted to see. For the first time since that fateful raid, Logan felt the weight on his chest lighten slightly. Not gone, it would never be gone, but bearable. Shared between them now, acknowledged by both. "I won't forget him," he promised. "Not ever." "I know," she said, and in those two simple words lay the beginning of something neither had thought possible. Not forgiveness exactly, but understanding. A bridge spanning worlds that had seemed forever divided. Logan took the smooth stone from his pouch, Little Hawk's painted stone, and placed it gently beside Maya's journal. "For your records," he said, "so he's remembered properly." Maya's fingers brushed the stone, recognition flickering in her eyes. "Where did you get this?" "I've carried it since that night. Thought one day I might find his family." Logan stood, adjusting his new badge on his vest. "Tomorrow I start building what he showed me during the vision quest, not seeking forgiveness, but working for something better." The firelight caught the silver star as he moved, throwing momentary light across the darkness between them. "When you return," Maya said. "Not a question, but a certainty." "When I return," Logan confirmed. They stood there, a newly minted marshal and a tribal liaison, each with one foot in two different worlds, the painted stone between them like a small bridge across a vast divide. Above them, stars wheeled in ancient patterns, indifferent to the boundaries drawn by men below. Not forgiveness? Not yet. But purpose carved from pain. A beginning. And for now, that was enough.